You ease into the harbor night, the way cloth slides across a table, slow and sure. Dim lamplight lives on the water as a dull sheen, not bright, only present. Tar and wet rope and salt stand in the air and settle on your tongue. Stone under your sandals is cool and holds a thin damp that climbs into your skin. You hold the little lamp close to the hull and hear its steady warm ring. A soft lamp hiss that keeps you company while the shore lies quiet. You reach for your oar and check the leather where wood turns on the pin. Your thumb presses the seam. The stitch holds, smooth and tight. A faint oil smell rises from the strap, mixed with pitch from the shaft, and the old smoke of many nights. You run a strip of cloth across the leather and feel the grain wake under your hand. The lamp throws a small coin of light on the curve of wood, and the lamp hiss fills the narrow space like a quiet river that never asks for more. You rub a pinch of grit into your palms from the little bowl near your feet. The sand is dry and cool. It runs between your fingers and leaves a roughness that helps the hold. Your hands feel larger after the grit, more your own. You brush the spare across the board and watch dust settle back into the bowl, a soft fall with no hurry. Salt sits at the corners of your mouth. The lamp hiss stays steady, the tone low and round, the sound of work that begins without the need to speak. You fold a cloak under your seat and press the cloth flat so no crease will bite your thigh. The bench is worn smooth by many hours. The wood knows your weight and keeps it. When you lean to one side, the hull's curve meets your hip and tells you where the sea will hold you. Your knee finds the foot brace by memory and rests against it with easy trust. The lamp's warm ring brushes your cheek, and the dull light lies along the oar like a simple line on a simple tool. Coils of rope lie on the deck near your knee. You lift one and set it down with care so it will pay out without mischief. Hemp smells wet and sound. The twist is honest under your fingers. A faint creak moves along the strand and fades when you settle it. From the pier, a rat runs under a plank and stops. The tiny dry sound ends at once. The lamp hiss holds the quiet in place, a soft edge around the boat and stone. You test the thole cord where the oar will rest. You tie a short hitch and let it settle, then pull again to be sure it will not slip. Cord fibers press a neat line on your fingers and let go when the knot is right. The oar leather rides the pin and turns without scrape. Water near the bow makes a thin lick against wood, then stillness. You watch the oar's shadow on the plank and find comfort in the simple shape, long and true. You open a small jar and smear pitch into a shallow cut where your hand may pass. The smell is sweet and sharp. It sits in your nose and tells you the wood is stronger now. You smooth the line with the back of a knife and wipe the blade on a cloth. The cloth already carries a patchwork of black stains from other hours like this. Far off, someone coughs once and then stops. The lamp hiss goes on with its low thread of sound, unchanged. You check the water skin. You press the leather and feel the swell within. Clay dust from the shore clings to the mouth. You brush it away with the edge of your sleeve. When you take a small drink, the taste is faintly of leather and clean earth. You let it sit in your mouth a moment and then swallow. Bread waits in a wrapped square. You leave it for later. The lamp's circle shows the wrap as a small pale island. The hiss folds around it and moves on. Boards rub together where the hull rests on the pier. You pass a hand along the seam nearest your knee and feel the tar line, firm and neat. Your fingers come away darker. You rub them on the edge of your cloak, and the mark smears thin, a gray more than a black. Spray from a lazy swell touches the stone and leaves a low, wet sound. You watch a bubble rise and break against the post. The lamp hiss warms your ear and makes the night seem kind. You place the oar across your lap and hold the shaft as if it were a sleeping thing you do not want to wake. Wood grain travels under your palm like a slow current. The leather wrap gives a slight pull where it crosses your fingers and then eases. You roll the shaft once to feel the weight settle. Pitch shows as a dull shine along the edge, not bright, only ready. The lamp's glow makes a soft band on the blade and keeps the world small and workable. The harbor carries a smell of seaweed and old nets that never leaves it, even on cold nights. Stone posts keep their damp, and a thin slick of water runs down one face and falls as if counting. A dog turns in sleep somewhere behind a wall and lies quiet. You rest the oar in its place and test the catch with a small push. The leather meets cord and holds. The lamp hiss keeps the measure, not as a master, only as a friend. You pick up a little bowl of ash and wipe the oar leather with the dry powder so it will not squeal when it moves. The ash smells like yesterday's fire, mild and spent. Your hands darken where it touches skin, then lighten as you brush them on a rag. A gull on the far post opens its wings once and folds them again. The water shows only a dull sheen as it leans along the pier and lets go. The lamp hiss meets that soft sound and seems to nod. You check the spare oar pin that rides in a slot near your foot. You lift it, feel the cool of the bronze in your palm, and set it down. A touch of oil keeps the hole honest. You brush the rim with a cloth and turn the pin once to learn its ease. Your shoulders loosen. You watch the still shape of the ram's cover cloth under the forward deck and think only that the bow sits low and clean. The lamp oil smells warm and simple, and the hiss folds into your chest, like a low song you do not have to sing. You slide the folded cloak again and smooth its edge, so your weight will not find a ridge later. The cloth holds a faint smoke scent from a long quenched fire and a trace of soap from a basin you carried this morning. You tuck one corner under the bench rail to keep it from slipping. A rope along the quay lifts as the tide turns and settles with a small sigh. Your tongue finds a salt line on your lip and leaves it. You open your palm to the night and let the air cool the grit there. The roughness keeps its feel. It steadies you without strain. You run your thumb along a blister seam and decide that the wrap you set yesterday will hold for another long pull. You fold the spare strip back into your belt and keep the knot loose for when you will need it. The lamp hiss marks the choice as if a judge had nodded. A neighbor shifts in the hull, and cloth rubs wood with a quiet hush. Another hand lays a coil near your foot and moves it away again. No one needs words. Bodies know this work. You match their careful pace without thought, and the boat answers with a deeper stillness. Water licks the pier with a slow rhythm you can almost count. The lamp hiss widens and thins as the flame leans and then stands, steady again. You lean toward the bow and touch the small board that covers a tool nook. Inside are modest things: a peg, a short knife, a lump of wax, a bit of line, a nail that might find use. You lay them in order without hurry and close the board. The grain under your fingers is dry and faintly rough. A splinter lifts and you smooth it with your nail. The nail catches and then lets go. The lamp shows the edge and makes it harmless. You rub the oar shaft with your palm one more time, slow from collar to blade. Heat from your skin wakes the pitch line, and the smell rises in a sweet, sharp thread. Your other hand holds the leather near the pin. The strap gives a friendly pull and stops. You set the blade flat on the water and lift it again. No splash, no noise, only the dark face of the harbor changing shape for a moment. The lamp hiss listens, then returns to its quiet ring. You think of the day that will come and leave the thought alone. This hour is about wood and rope and small things set right. You look at the oarlock lashings, at the brace for your feet, at the bowl of sand, at the water skin, at the folded cloak. Each has a place, each is ready. The boat holds you like a room holds air. The lamp's light is small, but enough. You adjust the thong around your wrist and test the pull as though the sea were already under you. The shaft presses into your fingers and rests, trusted and true. Stone presses back through the bench and tells you where your weight will live. You close your mouth on the salt taste and keep it. A line of cloud above the breakwater shows the faintest pale, not milk yet, but not ink either. The lamp hiss goes on without change and makes the waiting gentle. You shift on the bench and let your shoulders settle into the space you know. You place your heel where the board carries it best. You touch the knot in your belt to learn it is snug. You fold your hands once on the oar and hold them there. Somewhere near the sheds, a cartwheel turns and stops. A mule snorts and is quiet. The harbor answers with nothing but the hush of water against stone, and the lamp holds its tone. You take a small piece of bread from the wrap and set it on your tongue. The crumb is dry and kind. It opens slowly and carries the taste of clean grain. You sip from the water skin, and the clay note comes with the cool, soft as a memory you like to keep. You chew and swallow and feel your body ease. You tie the wrap closed and put it back where the plank will keep it safe. The lamp hiss seems to agree. You lay the oar true in its place and sit still. The leather at your fingers warms. The wood under your palm holds a deep calm you can feel but not name. Stone, rope, water, and wood share the same small circle for a long, quiet moment. The water shows only a dull sheen, like old glass. The lamp's steady warm ring holds on and does not fade. You watch the dark for a little while, and it watches you back with the mild face of night. Salt lives in the air. Tar stands firm at the edge of your nose. The faint smell of smoke sits in your cloak and waits. You lean your cheek near the lamp rim to borrow its heat, then draw away. Your hands stay on the oar, easy and loose. Somewhere, a boat rope answers the tide with a long pull and lets go. The lamp hiss keeps the night together like a thin cord through beads. You rest your eyes and open them again, not sleeping, only letting time pass across your skin. The harbor keeps its slow hush. The boat keeps its soft cradle. The oar keeps its clean line. You keep your place in the small circle of light. The lamp gives its steady warm ring, the soft lamp hiss that began your work, and you let it carry you forward while the water waits and the dull sheen holds along the pier. The lamp's small circle holds while your hands return to simple work. You reach for the strip of cloth you saved and let it lie across your palm. The fabric is plain and a little stiff from salt. You rub a pinch of sand over the blister line to dry it, then shake the grit into the bowl. Tar and pitch stand in the air, sweet and sharp together. You fold the cloth once, then again, and set it where skin needs help. You hold the smooth shaft across your knees and feel the wood warm under your touch. Grain runs the length like faint waves under skin. You wrap the strip and tie it with a short knot you can pull free later. The knot settles flat, The cloth hugs the palm without cutting. A slow line of warmth moves from lamp rim to your knuckles. Outside, water leans on stone and lets go. You lift the oar to the thole and rest the leather in place. The wrap sits clean on the pin. Oil you rubbed in yesterday still does its quiet job. When you shift your weight and ease the shaft forward, the oar leather answers with a slow, gentle oar creak that sits low in the night. It is not a sharp sound. It is a soft hinge of work. You listen once, then you let it be. Pitch lives on the blade in a thin skin. It smells of pine and heat and smoke held from some old fire. You smooth a thumb along the edge where pitch gathers, and it leaves a dull shine that catches the lamp. Your fingers come away sticky. You wipe them on the rag and feel the cloth take the gloss. Salt stays on your tongue and makes the smell a little stronger, like wood warmed in sun. The oar creak stays quiet, a small reply when the leather settles. You settle your feet against the brace and learn the board again. The plank is smooth at the heel spot from many nights. A thin ridge marks the edge. You press your heel there and turn it just so. Your knees find their place. Your hips lean into the hull's curve. The bench gives back a mild ache from long work, the kind you know and accept. Rope near your ankle rubs a post, then is still. You draw the oar toward you and test the pull with no water under the blade. The shaft comes alive in your hands, even here, held by wood and leather and habit. Your shoulders rise and fall, steady and slow. The grain under your palms feels close to skin, warm and sure. A neighbor shifts in the dark and cloth whispers on wood. The oar creak murmurs once and rests. You let the blade touch the surface and feather it flat. The water shows only a dull sheen. It takes the wood like old glass takes a hand. No splash, no fuss. You hold, then ease away and let the surface close. The smell of wet rope climbs as a swell turns under the pier. Far off, a boat rope answers the tide with a long pull and then slack. You rub a little ash on the leather so the turn will stay quiet when the pull grows long. Ash smells soft and spent, like yesterday's fire. You brush the rim of the oarlock and clear a fine film of dust. The cloth takes a gray ring, then goes back to your belt. You look down the line of benches and see only shapes and shadow, each body a calm weight in its place. The oar creak returns when you roll the shaft, slow as a door closed without hurry. You test the reach. Arms forward, hands easy, shoulders set. The shaft lies in the web between thumb and finger, not in the fist. Wood fits the hand better than some tools do. It asks for less and gives more when held right. Your knees press the brace. Your back leans a finger's width and then holds. The lamp warms the side of your wrist. The heat tells you where the flame stands without looking. Tar sits in the air like a low chord. You take a small sip from the water skin and let the cool sit on your tongue. The taste is leather and clay, and a hint of smoke from the last boil. The swallow goes down and leaves you even. You slide the skin back into its nook and tie the thong loose so it will not bang the plank. A rat tries the pile and thinks better of it. The tiny sound ends in dust. The oar creak gives one easy note as the leather settles on the pin. You rub your palms once more with a pinch of sand so the cloth wrap will not turn. The grit bites and then eases. Now the hand holds with less effort. You flex each finger, slow and careful, and feel the cloth learn your shape. Resin rides the air from a jar near the bow. It smells sweet and clean in the cool night. You watch the blade's shadow on the plank as it slides and returns, a soft shape that calms the eye. You lean forward and draw a gentle half pull to see how the body remembers. Feet press. Knees lift the weight. Back carries the line. Hands hold and then give. The shaft keeps faith. It does not jump or search. When the leather turns, the oar creak sounds again, a slow hinge, a small yes. You lay the blade flat once more and wait. You powder the blister line with a pinch of dry clay to keep the skin quiet under the wrap. The clay is cool and fine, like dust from a clean pot. You press the cloth into place and rub the knot smooth. Tension spreads, then settles. You raise the oar and let the blade rest a finger above the water. The lamp's circle touches the edge and pulls a soft shine from the pitch. A gull shifts on the far post and scrapes once. A mule beyond the sheds moves and stops. The harbor keeps its low hush. You pull again, longer this time, and keep your jaw loose so salt will not bite. The shaft travels without jar. The oarlock cord holds, and the leather keeps its slow voice. Oar creak, then nothing. Oar creak, then peace. You finger the spare strap tied to the frame and judge its sound. The thong is stiff with salt. You roll it between thumb and forefinger until it softens. You slide it under the pin, then slide it back out so it will be ready when asked. The knife at your belt presses the board and reminds you it is there. You shift it to rest where it will not catch your thigh. The water lies dark and smooth like cloth pressed flat by a careful hand. You rise a little to stretch one side and then the other. Cloth pulls at shoulder and hip, then lets go. The bench sighs, wood on wood. You sit again and fold your cloak just so, dry side against the seat, rough side up to lock your weight. The oar at your knees glows a little where pitch catches the lamp. The oar creak stays close, not loud, a friendly hinge in the dark. You look forward and find the pail mark you always use, just a nick in the rail where your line sits true. It is a quiet guide. You aim the shaft along it and feel the small rightness of things in place. Salt in the air grows stronger as a little wind stirs the mouth of the harbor. Tar stays steady, a bass note. The lamp's warm rim kisses your hand when you reach to steady its base. You dip your fingers in the bowl of sand and let the grains run. They sound like a tiny river, dry and clear. You press the last cling of grit into the cloth on your palm and pat it flat. A thread from the wrap tries to lift. You burn it down with the lamp flame and watch it curl to nothing. The smell is small and sweet. The oar waits, patient and plain. You settle into the stroke you will keep when the call comes, though no call rises now. Your chest opens. Your ribs hold the shape the work likes. You keep the pull easy, a slow measure that belongs to the night. The shaft moves, then rests, then moves again. Each turn of leather gives that same slow oar creak, gentle as a door moved by wind. You check the heel against the brace and shift it the width of a grain so the bone will not ache later. The plank is cool under your foot. You rub the edge with your thumb to dull a small burr. It smooths at once and feels like good wood again. Far out, water murmurs along the mole in long, even lines. The lamp keeps its small hiss, warm and round. You lift the blade and feather it once more, just to feel the clean path in and out. The wrist turns without strain. The oar answers like a friend who knows the next word before you say it. The cloth on your palm holds. The knot does not bite. The pitch leaves a faint, sweet taste on the air whenever you pass the blade through the lamplight. The oar creak follows, no louder than thought. You take one bite of bread and let it soften on your tongue. Flour is simple and kind. It carries the smell of the mill and sun you cannot see. You chase it with a small mouthful of water and feel the cool run along your throat. The clay taste lingers, calm as stone in shade. You tuck the bread away again and wipe your fingers on the cloth across your knee. You lean to the oar and hold the shaft as if it were a line drawn in sand, clear, steady, without fuss. Hands close but not tight, arms long but not stiff, back quiet, feet true. The body finds the groove it learned by repetition more than thought. Salt on your lip dries, then returns. The oar creak comes and goes, a soft hinge that marks the time of your work. You rest the blade on the surface and look across the dull face of the water. The pier is only a darker line. Sky is the same, only larger. Smoke from some late hearth drifts and thins. A dog shakes once and forgets you. You hold your place in the narrow bench as if it were a room built for you. Pitch breathes its warm, sharp scent when you move. Wood grain holds your palm like a friend's hand. You lay the oar in the thole one last time and listen to the small sounds that belong here. Rope easing on wood, sand settling in the bowl, water kissing stone, the lamp's low hiss, the oar leather's slow, gentle creak, all of them simple, all of them enough. You let your hands rest on the smooth shaft and keep them there while the dark stays near and the night holds its even shape. The oar lies quiet in its place, and you slide into the narrow bench as if into a groove worn by years. Wood meets you along the hip, where the hull curves inward, firm and kind. The air tastes of salt and smoke, with a thin line of pitch that feels almost sweet. Stone chill from the pier fades as the planks accept your weight. A small lantern swings under the forward deck and paints long ribs on the skin of the boat. Ribs inside ribs, like a fish lit from within. Water strokes the outer boards in a slow, even way, and a low hull hush stays under every other sound. You let your sandals settle on the floorboards and learn they're cool again. The grain is smooth where many heels have polished it, yet a shallow ridge marks the seam. Your toes find the brace. Your knee folds to the angle you know, and your hip rests into the curve that keeps you steady. The smell of tar rises stronger near the pin. It sticks to the edge of your tongue and then softens. The lantern throws a thin stripe of light along your shin and across the oar shaft. The hull hush strokes the planks once more, a sound like cloth drawn across a table. You slide a folded cloth between bench and bone and press it flat so the edge will not find you later. Linen is cool at first touch, then warms under you. The board at your back holds a clean line. You lean, then return, then choose the spot that asks the least. The water outside shifts once and lays down again, and the hull answers by speaking low to itself. Smoke from some quiet hearth on shore drifts in and tastes of old bread and ash together. The lantern light leans, then stands, and shows dust floating like soft snow inside the wooden belly. You pass your hand down the rib beside your knee. The plank carries a faint ridge where a tool once stopped. Your finger follows it as if reading a word. Pitch along the seam is dull and honest. No shine now that the night has cooled it. Your palm comes away with a little tack. You rub it with sand from the small bowl, and it turns to a dry film that does not cling. Rope on the floor lies in a tidy coil, smelling of salt and wet plant. The hull hush folds around it all, low and steady, never more than it needs to be. You reach for the oar and lay the shaft across your thighs to feel its weight in this darker space. The leather at the turn is warm from your earlier touch, and the stitch lies smooth as skin. You lift, set, and let the blade hover by the water, not touching, only near. Your wrists roll a finger's width. The wood answers without jump. Far forward, a plank creaks, old wood clearing its voice and then growing shy again. The hull hush moves under the keel and keeps the boat feeling held from below. You share the air with others you cannot fully see. A neighbor clears a throat and then keeps still. Cloth friction, neon bench, a rope end shifting a tiny way. Each sound is small enough to respect the dark. The lantern hums a thin sound where warm oil meets metal rim. It fills the space between ribs like a calm note you can hold in the mouth. Smoke and salt mix close to your nose and make a taste that belongs to work, not to worry. Outside, a line of tiny ripples touches the boards and the hull hush grows a shade, then quiets again. You test the angle of your feet on the brace and move one heel the width of a seed so the joint will not argue. Board cool travels through leather and into bone, clean and direct. Your hands close on the wood, not tight, not loose. You lean with care into the curve of the hull to feel how the shape will carry you through a long pull. The ribs press a soft pattern through your tunic and print it onto your back. The lantern paints those same ribs in light and shadow, a moving ladder on the inner skin. The hull hush steadies your count without numbers. You listen deeper and find the thin trickle where a little water hides under the floor planks. It shifts when you shift, but it never complains. The smell down there is clean rot and old wood and a hint of seaweed trapped from a past day. You slide the toe of your sandal along a seam, then stop, because you will not chase what has no need to be chased. Your fingers run the shaft again, collar to blade, and learn the spots you oiled and the spots you left for later. The low hush of the hull rolls on like a quiet cloth laid over a sleeping child. You look along the line of ribs toward the stern. Bronze, somewhere out of sight, gives a soft ring as a fitting settles, no louder than a spoon on a rim. A leather thong rubs a peg and grows still. The lantern's light touches a knot in the plank and makes it look like an eye that would rather keep closed. Smoke thins and leaves room for cold salt that wakes the tongue. Your mouth holds that taste and accepts it, the way hands accept a tool. The hull hush moves across the beam and tells you the water outside is not in a hurry either. You lift the water skin from its hook under the deck and take a small mouthful. The taste is clay and leather and evening air. You hold it, then let it go. The skin cools your palm even after you hang it back. A crumb from the bread wrap clings to your sleeve. You brush it into your hand and set it in the sand bowl for later, so it will not learn to ride the floor. Somewhere above, a rope answers a tiny push of tide with a long, low moan, then rests. The hull hush turns that sound into part of itself and keeps it soft. You think of the layers around you, as simple as a child's counting game. Water outside, wood under hand, iron at the pin, leather at the turn, cloth on skin, skin on bone, bone on board, board on rib, rib on skin of hull on water again. No gaps, just places where one thing leans into another. The lantern shows you a little of it, and the rest you know by touch and by sound. The hull hush moves through every layer at once and makes them all agree. You slide the spare cloth under your thigh again and smooth it so the fold does not rise. Linen smells faintly of soap from a basin. Smoke sits in it now too, but not harsh, more like a note held far off. A knot in the bench catches at the cloth. You press it flat with your thumb until the snag lets go. Sand grains under the cloth settle with tiny clicks you do not quite hear. The hull hush fills the spaces between those small acts and changes none of them. You lean forward and hold the shaft out over the dark water. The blade's pitch picks up the lantern's glow and sends it back dull and warm. You settle, draw, and hold, nothing strong, only to learn once more how the body will move when called. Feet press, knees open, back carries, hands receive. Your shoulders remember and grow quiet. The oar leather turns on the pin with almost no sound at all. The hull hush under the planks accepts the small motion and makes it feel right. You set the oar down and rub your palms together to spread the sand's dry grip. Grain against skin whispers like paper, then goes silent. A thin smear of tar on your wrist leaves a sweet taste in the air when you bring your hand near your face to tie a thong. You knot, check, and leave the end short. A rat under the pier runs a brief length of its own dark hallway and stops when it meets water. The hull hush lingers as if to guide it back to dry. You look up toward the underdeck beams and see a tiny line of soot on one. You brush it and leave a clean mark your finger will forget by morning. Oil from the lantern warms the nails that hold the bracket, and a little odor of metal joins the smoke. The ribs throw thin shadows that ripple when the light sways. Water outside changes its shape by a hand's width and touches the hull in a new way. The hush grows round, then narrow again. Your tongue keeps salt at its edges, steady and familiar. You pass your hands along the inside planks where knees will press. The boards are cool and a bit damp where night pulled heat from them. You rub a trace of pitch into a line that looked dry, not to close a wound, only to keep the wood smooth for the next hour. The smell steps forward and then steps back. Your nails carry black under their ends. You clean them with a small sliver of wood and flick the curl into the sand bowl. The hull hush approves without sound you can name. You hold the oar again and rest the shaft in the crease of your fingers where it will sit when you work in earnest. The leather wrap on your palm keeps its place without bite. The grain under your pad tells you which way the tree grew, and that makes you smile in a way no one sees. A soft humor walks along your mind. The tree did not plan to row, yet here it is, helpful and calm. The lantern shows a faint shine on the blade, and the hush under the boat nods along. You lower your head a little and let the dark widen. The lantern's ring is small. Night owns the rest. You listen to the boat instead of looking. Board to rib, rib to skin, skin to water, water to stone, stone to air, air to cloth. It is a slow chain with no sharp links. The taste of smoke fades and returns. The smell of tar stays. The hull hush moves as gentle as a hand passing across a child's hair. You press your heel once into the brace and hold. The plank tells you it is ready to share the load. You loosen a strap at your knee, not to rest, only to find an easier line. The oar waits where you want it, never heavy, never light. The lantern hums. The oil keeps to its channel. The wick stays clean. A rope above murmurs again and falls still. The low hush under the hull curls around it all and makes a room where time moves but does not hurry. You let your hands rest and feel the oar's warmth travel into your palms. Wood answers skin with a steady quiet you can taste like plain water. Smoke thins nearer the deck and grows a little stronger near the pin. Salt sits even with both. Your sandals hold their space on the board, not gripping, not sliding. You lean into the hull one last time to hear how it speaks when you are still. It speaks in that same low hush, the sound of water and wood meeting with respect. You keep the sound in your ear while the lantern paints ribs on ribs, and the cool of the floorboards settles through your soles, and the belly of the ship holds you the way a careful hand holds a cup, steady and sure. The ribs shine and fade in the lantern's small ring, and the hush of the hull stays low and kind. From beyond the forward deck, a soft drum begins. more heartbeat than order, a hand on skin rather than a hammer on wood. The sound travels through plank and rib and seat until it reaches your body and settles there. Tar and pine drift from the pier and mix with salt, a slow blend you can taste. You hold the oar as if you are holding a warm loaf, steady and plain, waiting for the first pull that is not hurried. You slide your sandals until your heels find the brace and your toes learn the seam again. The floorboards are cool through leather, the kind of cool that keeps you aware without scolding. You rub a little sand into your palms and close them around the shaft. The wood grain feels close to skin, familiar as old cloth. The drum gives another soft thrum, and you carry its line into your shoulders without thinking. The hush under the hull agrees. You ease the blade to the surface and let it hover there. Pitch smells sweet and sharp as it warms in the lamp's faint heat. Salt sits on your lip and stays. It keeps you honest and awake. Pine comes stronger when the lantern sways. Tar answers with its low, thick note. Another thrum reaches you, and you give the lightest draw, not a stroke exactly, more a test of the path your arms will follow. Leather turns on cord with a long, slow oar creak that does not rise above a whisper. You match the pull with your neighbors by feel, not by sight. A knee shifts near you. A cloth rustles. A quiet exhale moves across wood and is gone. Your hands warm the shaft. The shaft warms your hands back. The drum thrum settles into something steady now, a slow tide inside the boat. You follow it with simple lines. Hold, lean, pull, return. The water outside gives a small answer against the skin of the hull, and then remembers silence. You lean into the curve of the boat and feel how it carries you. The bench meets you at the same place you left it. The folded cloak spreads the weight and softens the bone. Your wrists roll the shaft a finger's width, and the leather gives that gentle oar creak again, long and clean. You let the motion run small, as if tracing a groove with one finger so you will not lose it later. The drum under the forward deck keeps time like rain on a roof you once knew. The hush below keeps its low thread under everything. You taste a little smoke left in your mouth from a cook fire far along the quay. A rope outside rubs a post and then lays still. A rat tries a gap under the pier and changes its mind. The tiny scrape stops. Someone behind you adjusts a strap. Leather slides on wood and then rests. The boat takes all these sounds and makes them part of itself. The drum thrum lays a slow, even road through them. You breathe through your mouth and keep the pull easy. Hands hold, back carries, knees press, feet answer. The oar's weight feels right. It is not heavy now, just present. Pitch leaves a faint taste in the air when the blade passes the lamplight and returns to dark. You pull a little longer and keep your jaw slack so the salt does not bite. The soft thrum meets your chest, and you carry it forward, a friendly task you do not rush. You loosen the thong at your wrist and tie it again so the knot lies flat. Cloth is rough against skin and then grows smooth as it warms. You rub a grit line along the blister seam and feel it settle under the wrap. The grain on the shaft meets the grain on your palm, and the two agree. The drum under the forward deck speaks low, patient, and sure. It is almost funny that a small drum can be more stubborn than most men in sandals. You lift the blade clear, feather it, and set it down again without splash. The water takes it like a careful host taking a cup. No clatter, no spill. Tar and pine still drift from the pier, but less now. The boat has slid a little from the smell. The lantern hums with its warm metal ring. Oil breathes its soft leaf note. The drum thrum holds your pace. It does not ask for more. The hush under the hull moves with the same long thought. You look along the ribs, their shadows like a comb drawn through dusk. The oar across your knees shines in a thin band where pitch shows, then turns dull again as you move. You press your heels and feel the plank answer, cool and solid. You lean a finger's width farther and stop, learning where too much begins so you can avoid it later. The drum says yes with another soft thrum, and you let that yes ride your shoulders. The rest of you follows in small, even lines. A neighbor at the lower bench shifts, and Wood gives a low sigh that stirs dust you can smell but not see. 2 benches forward, someone takes a slow drink. Leather creaks, clay touches teeth, water runs, then quiet. Far outside, a gull skims somewhere you cannot watch. Wind carries a feather smell that vanishes at once. Pine returns for a moment from a stack of oars on the pier, then fades. The drum thrum continues like a path worn into ground, so calm that you could walk it with eyes closed. You add a touch of ash to the leather, so the turn will keep soft when the pull grows long later. Ash smells like yesterday's work, clean and finished. You brush the rim of the oarlock. The powder settles. Your hands find the wood again, and the wood feels like a friend you have met many times. You draw through the thrum and let go when it fades. The oar creak answers in its slow, honest way. The hush under the boards agrees with both. You hold for a few counts you do not name, then return to the pull with less thought than before. Salt lives along your gums and tastes mild now. The air in the boat is warm at your hands, cool at your ankles. The shaft carries a slight tack where pitch slept. Your palm finds it and knows it is nothing. The drum under the deck keeps its slow thrum and does not hurry. Its softness makes the hour gentle. The hull hush keeps your mind from wandering far. You reach for the water skin and take only a mouthful. Clay and leather come first, cool and plain. You swallow and set the skin back in its nook where a thong holds it easy. Bread waits for later. You touch the cloth and leave it. You brush crumbs from your knee and let them fall into the sand bowl so mice will not learn this place. The drum thrum holds steady, a low hum that feels like a floor under your work. The oar sits light on the thole when you rest it there. You lift your shoulders and let them fall into their lines, then lean until your back knows its shape. The bench gives a tiny complaint and then accepts its share. You trace the blade's edge with a thumb and find no chip, only the smooth curve you want. The drum's slow thrum meets your hands, and you carry it into the next small pull. The hush under the hull folds around the motion and makes it part of the boat. You run your forearm along the inside plank and feel damp where the night held the wood. You rub in a smear of pitch, thin as a line of ink, to keep the board from biting your skin later. The smell rises, sweet and sharp, and then sinks back. A rope above you murmurs once as the tide asks for it. The rope answers, then forgets. Your throat tastes of smoke for a blink, then only salt. The drum thrum goes on, soft as a palm on a door that should not be woken. You try a longer draw without force, only shape. Hands out, hands in, feet push, feet ease, knees open, knees close. The oar leather moves like a slow wheel you do not see, and its gentle oar creak keeps time with the drum's line. Wood stays warm at your palms. Water blurs at the blade's skin, then clears. The hush below makes a quiet room of it all. You hold the shaft across your thighs and listen. The lantern hum. the small shift of a rib, the dry whisper of sand in its bowl. Far off, a mule on the shore gives one sound and then goes silent. The pier offers tar and pine one last time, as if to say the hour has begun. The drum under the forward deck answers with its slow thrum, patient and low, and the sound lingers against your chest. You close your mouth to the salt and keep it as a simple taste, neither welcome nor unkind. Your hands nest again on the wood, and the wood welcomes them back. The boat carries its own slow thought. You follow it. The drum thrum becomes the quiet road under your work, and the hull hush becomes the sky above it. You lean and draw and return with no hurry at all, and the oar creak stays soft in the dark, while the drum keeps its calm thrum inside the wooden belly. The slow drum inside the hull keeps its low thrum as you reach toward the bow. Night holds its shape, and the lantern paints a thin coin of light across the post. Rope waits where you coiled it, dark with harbor wet. Tar and pine linger near the pier and sit mild in your nose. You rub sand over your palms and feel the small grit wake your skin for careful work. The hush along the planks remains steady, and you let that calm be your guide. You hold the mooring line and lift the first turn. Wet hemp is rough and cold. Fibers press their pattern into your fingers and stay a moment. Spray lifts with the tiny shift and touches your lips with a clean taste. You ease the line from the post as if it were a sleeping thing that should not be startled. Wood under your knee is cool and honest. The slipping rope answers with a faint rope slide, soft as grain poured from a low bowl. You carry the slack into a neat coil and lay it in a ring on the deck. The ring sits flat and quiet, a small moon of hemp against damp wood. Salt smells strong where the rope has drunk the harbor, then fades as air moves along the hull. You brush a thread from the tail and tuck it under the top turn. Far behind you, a neighbor clears a throat and then keeps still. The rope slide fades to nothing and leaves your ear gentle. You lean to the stern line and test the knot there. The wood of the post is slick with old moss. Your palm knows how to hold it without haste. You lift, carry, and ease, never pulling hard, only letting the line find the path it wants. The boat nuzzles the pier and then rests. Water strokes the plank with a sound like silk on stone. The rope answers again with that faint rope slide, a calm note that tells you everything is simple. You settle your feet against the brace and look along the ribs the lantern has made. The oar waits across your knees, warm where your hands left it. Pitch holds sweet and sharp in the air, a thin line that meets the salt. The floorboards under your sandals feel cool and smooth, the kind of cool that keeps the mind tidy. You tie the released end with a loose hitch so it will not wander. The drum within the forward deck keeps its slow thrum, close to the heart's own patience. You lift the fender board from its peg and ease it onto the deck. The board is slick where the knight sat on it. Water runs along the edge and drops like clear beads. You set it beside the coil, then fold a cloth to wipe the last gloss where it might trip a foot. Wood smells clean. Cloth smells of soap and a little smoke. A rat tests a gap under the pier and then forgets the idea. The rope slide returns, very soft, as the last strand lets go of the post. You push a palm against the pier and feel the boat loosen from stone. The hull gives a quiet shiver and then glides. The pier's shadow turns, losing you to the wider dark. A fresh breath of sea lays a chill across your cheek and cleans the tar from your nose. The lantern's ring rides with you and slides along ribs and pins. Water speaks in long strokes along the skin of the boat, and the rope slide becomes a memory you can still hear. You take the oar, settle your feet, and hold for the next small task. Leather meets cord. The fit is right. You roll the shaft and let the blade rest near the surface. No splash. The air tastes of salt and pine together as the pier falls away. A gull somewhere on the mooring pile lifts and scrapes once, then folds its head back into itself. The drum keeps its low thrum, gentle as a cart rolling on sand far inland. You gather the free line and wind it into a second coil, simple as the first. The hemp leaves a fine damp on your fingers. It smells like reed and riverbank. You shake the water from your hands and tie both coils to a small peg so they will not slide. Cloth at your wrist grows cool, then warm again when the oar shaft comes back to your palms. Spray hangs in the air and leaves tiny salt stars on your cloak. A boat rope across the way pulls long and then rests. You lean and watch the hull's shoulder clear the last brush of stone. The pier is now only a darker line, and the lamp's light belongs to you alone. The floorboards send up their faint wood scent as the boat begins to move without help. You wait for the soft thrum beneath the forward deck to become your marker. It comes as expected, slow and even. You match the pull with your neighbor's by feel, the oar a calm weight in your hands. You take a half stroke to learn the water's skin. Blade in, blade out, no hurry. The surface is thick as velvet and takes the wood kindly. Pitch breathes its sharp sweetness, and the taste rides your tongue as if you had chewed a pine tip as a child. Your knees press the brace. Your back leans only a finger's width. The leather at the pin turns and does not complain. The hush under the hull makes room for each small motion. You glance toward the stern and see shadow on shadow where the shore once pressed close. The boat slides in a slow drift, guided by the lightest touch of arms and oar. A breath of wind brings baked stone from somewhere ashore, warm even in the dark. You listen for any snag, any loose board, any line that might speak back. None does. Water kisses the hull and lets go in long, even sighs. You draw the stern line in the last finger's length and feel the final release like a knot untying in your chest. The wood of the post glistens and moves away. The rope's tail slips along the deck and rests near the coil you made for it. You wipe your palm on your cloak and watch a gray smear flatten and fade. The lantern's small ring keeps your work bright without scolding your eyes. The drum's thrum holds the hour in a low hand. You put the spare peg back into its nook under the rib and close the small board. The latch clicks like a stone set gently on a table. You rub a thumb along the grain where a splinter dreamed of rising. It changes its mind. A mule on the shore gives one sound and then stops. Pine comes again, faint and dry, from a stack you will not see by day. Rope gives a last tiny rope slide as the tail settles into the coil's center. You lift the blade a finger higher and let the boat ride. Then ease it to the water again. You do not rush. You let the pull match the drum the way tide matches moon, quiet and sure. Leather meets cord and gives nothing sharp. The boat glides, and the pier's shadow turns fully behind you. Salt stays on your mouth, clean as clay water. The hush along the plank steadies, even as distance grows. You look along the line of bodies you cannot name, each a shape at work, each a small warmth in the wooden belly. Cloth brushes wood, then falls still. Someone lifts a skin and sips. The faint creak of leather tells you enough. The oar across your knees warms the skin beneath your hands and returns you to simple things. Hold, lean, pull, return. The drum's thrum remains patient. The rope coils shine a little where lantern light finds their wet. You gather the last bits you used. The cloth for your hands, the sand bowl, the small knife. Each goes back to its place as if it were a ritual you learned in another life. The knife smells of oil. The bowl smells like old hearths. The cloth smells of soap and smoke. You fold, tie, and settle each one. Spray pricks your face and tastes like a clean promise made in few words. The water outside keeps its long whispers. You rub your palms together and feel the grit wake again, not rough now, only ready. The oar fits where it should, and your wrists roll the blade without thought. The harbor opens into a darker space that is somehow lighter than the close pier. The lantern hums. The ribs carry light like lines on a quiet map. Somewhere aft, a rope on another boat draws across a ring with a thin song and is gone. Your own coils answer with silence. You ease into a longer pull, still small, still easy. The boat takes it and changes the line of water along its side from soft to softer. You taste pine less and see more, as if one hand were letting go and another were taking hold. Your knees settle deeper into their sure place. Your back learns the curve again and keeps it. The hush under the hull follows with a sound like hands smoothing cloth. You glance at the post you left. It is only a thought now, not a thing. The pier fades to a part of the shore. The oar feels like a part of your arm rather than a tool. Pitch and salt keep their quiet company in your nose and mouth. A gull gives a line of sound and then lets night reclaim it. You keep your pull within the borders of the soft drum, and the boat glides where you send it. You shift the cloak edge under you so the seam will not argue later. Linen is cool against the thigh, and then grows warm. You brush a dusting of hemp from your knee and watch it vanish into the grain. The coils near your foot lie still and perfect, a small order you can trust. You draw the blade through the water and let it go again. The rope slide motif lives only as a memory now, quiet, finished, gentle as a story folded shut. You hold the shaft across your thighs for a count you do not name. The lantern's metal rim warms your knuckle. The warmth is simple and kind. The drum keeps its soft thrum. The water keeps its low hush. The air keeps its salt. Your hands keep the wood. The boat slides, and the pier's shadow turns to nothing, and the faint rope slide you carried with you sinks into the night like a line drawn in wet sand that the sea smooths away. The coils lie still, and the pier's shadow falls behind as you lean to the dark shore. Rock holds the smell of seaweed and night. The scent comes in a low line that touches your tongue with salt. The oar lies warm in your hands. Water is black and smooth, a long cloth drawn flat by patient hands. You guide the blade to the surface and keep it near. The edge turns flat and thin. The feather whisper rides the wood as it skims. You follow the dim coast where stone knees the water and then pulls back. The sky holds no color yet. It is one deep shade without a seam. Tar from old posts fades, and pine slips away toward the sleeping hills. The floorboards are cool through sandal soles, steady and true. You match the soft drum under the forward deck and let it tell your shoulders what to do. The blade feathers again, and the feather whisper answers like a quiet reed. You settle your feet against the brace and hold the shaft in the crook of your fingers. Pitch smells sweet and sharp where the blade passed the lamp earlier. Now it is only a shadow on your palm. Your knee remembers the curve. Your hip rests in the hull's hollow. Your back finds its line. A small spray touches your lip with a clean taste and is gone. Ahead, the shore turns a dark elbow. You lean into the pull without hurry. The The feather whisper moves along the blade and leaves the water untroubled. You keep the stroke light and even, no splash, no lift that would talk too loudly to stone. Oars skim flat in their sets. Leather meets cord and stays friendly. The hush under the hull says the current minds its own work. Far inland, a dog coughs once, and then loses interest. A rope from some other boat sighs across a ring and goes quiet. Your hands warm the shaft, and the shaft warms your hands back, and the feather whisper keeps you company. You tie the thong at your wrist a finger tighter so the wrap will not wander. Cloth is rough, then soft as it warms to skin. Salt dries on your cheek. You wet it with the tip of your tongue and taste iron faintly. You draw the oar through a half pull and let it ride out flat, edge like a leaf on a bowl. The floorboard seam under your heel feels straight. The brace carries your weight like a good friend. The feather whisper rests there, then returns. The lantern behind the deck beam is hooded and small. It paints only ribs and hands, and leaves the water to its dark. Tar is a memory now. Seaweed and wet rock take the nose. The air presses cool along your sleeves and finds the open of your neck. You listen for any knock, any hard sound that could travel to the cliffs. None comes. Oars skim flat again, and the feather whisper gives a long, thin answer like paper drawn through air. You lift the water skin and drink once, careful not to spill. Leather tastes clean. Clay is a faint sweetness under it. You put the skin back into its nook and tie the thong loose so it will not clap the plank. Bread waits in its cloth. You press the wrap to feel its mild give and leave it closed. A gull passes unseen with a single wing rub against the dark. The drum up front holds its low, slow thrum, and you fold your pull inside it. The feather whisper is small as a moth. You watch the line where rock meets water, not with sharp eyes, but with patience. The shore is a suggestion more than a thing, yet it is enough. Weed along the stones gives a cold, green smell, old and clear. The oar blade hums as it feathers, a thin music born of wood and water. Your knees press, your back carries, your hands release. The hull's hush seems to float a little higher, as if pleased with this quiet way. A neighbor shifts, cloth against wood, and then stillness again. Another hand sets an oar down with care, leather on cord, nothing more. A rat tries the rocks and thinks better of it. The tiny scratch ends at once. Spray pricks your face like sand. You brush it away with the back of your wrist and taste salt on the skin. The feather whisper moves past your ear and into the night without leaving a mark. You pass a low spit of stone that smells of mussel shells and old rope. The water thickens there, then eases. You shorten the pull, then lengthen it again when the spit is behind. The blade skims flat, and the edge hums as it turns to meet the air. The floorboards cool your soles and keep you grounded. Pine tries to return on a faint wind, then fails and fades. The feather whisper rides each light stroke like a soft thread woven through cloth. You brush a pinch of sand across your palms and rub until the grit feels even. Grain whispers, then quiets. The shaft lives under your hands with a sure warmth that helps you forget the hour. Your cloak edge slides on the bench. You fold it under and press it flat so seams will not argue later. Stone ahead gleams with nothing, only darkness on darkness. The oar moves, then rests, moves, then rests, and the feather whisper never raises its voice. You draw near a cove that smells of fish and damp nets, though no light shows. You picture a hut of wattle and a jar on a shelf, a goat nosing a rope outside the door. The sea in the cove moves in slow circles, kind and deep. You hold the stroke short and quiet until the circles lie flatter. Your lip keeps its salt. Your tongue learns it and grows calm. The feather whisper glides across the cove like a hand over sleeping hair. You guide the blade to the surface with more care where the channel narrows. Rock edges the path like teeth under cloth. You do not test them. The drum stays low, a soft palm on hide. You work inside that measure, a small promise kept over and over. The oar leather turns without complaint. The shaft remains true. The feather whisper answers the turn with a sound too light to carry, which is the point. You look up for sky and find only depth without stars, as if the world forgot color and chose one good shade for the night. Air smells clean and old. Smoke from far hearths does not find you here. The hull moves as if pulled by the same slow thought you hold. Oars skim flat. The blade edge hums as it feathers. The feather whisper becomes the measure of time, a calm tally without numbers. You feel the hull's curve against your hip and thank it without a word. Wood holds you where stone and water would rather you were not. The seam at your heel stays kind. The brace under your foot gives back what you ask and no more. You keep the pull level and quiet. The feather whisper follows, a small breeze made by your own hands. You pass under a darker shoulder of cliff, and the smell of seaweed grows thick and cold. Water there feels heavier, like a blanket not yet warmed. You shorten the reach and keep the edge flat. Spray touches your cheek and leaves a clean trail you can taste but not see. The rope coiled near your ankle breathes a little as the boat shifts and then forgets the motion. The feather whisper keeps its light word along the blade. You take the rag from your belt and wipe the oar leather once, not because it needs it, but because the act steadies your mind. The cloth holds soap and smoke. The smells meet and settle. You tuck the rag back and retie the thong with a quick fold that you trust. The drum is steady. Your shoulder answers it with calm. The feather whisper returns at the feathering, thin as a reed shaken by no wind at all. You cross a place where the channel floor must be closer, because the hush under the hull grows a shade brighter. Even so, the water does not lift to argue. You ease the blade higher and let the stroke grow smaller until the hush is itself again. The shore moves as a dull line, no edge, no name. A gull's soft note moves along the cliff and dissolves into the dark. The feather whisper goes on, faithful and light. You wet your lips with a drop from the water skin and taste clay, cool and kind. Hunger does not visit. The body is busy with smaller tasks. You pass a finger over the blister line and find the wrap doing its quiet work. You shift your weight by a grain so the bench will love you longer. Oars skim flat. The blade edge hums as it feathers. The feather whisper is the only song allowed, and it never tries to be more. You raise your eyes toward where dawn will live and find only deeper night. That is fine. The work fits the dark, and the dark fits the work. Your hands hold wood. Your feet hold plank. Your back holds line. Salt sits on your tongue and tells you where you are without maps. The feather whisper slips across the water and leaves no trail anyone could follow. You glance along the row and see shapes more than faces, each one bent to the same small craft. A neighbor's cloak rubs, another's sandal shifts and grows still. Somewhere aft, a bowl knocks wood and then finds a kinder place. Rock on your left side keeps its seaweed smell and its silence. The feather whisper threads the boat from blade to blade and ties you all together without rope. You keep the blade low and the hands loose. You lean, pull, return. You wait, then do it again. The hull keeps you in a curve that belongs to the sea and to you. The channel holds the boat like a hand holds a cup, firm but not tight. The feather whisper rides each stroke, light as a moth wing, soft as linen moving over wood. The sky still holds no color, yet it feels less heavy, as if a thought had entered it and chosen to stay. Water shows the smallest change, not shine, only less black. The rock's seaweed smell thins by a hair. You keep your stroke as it is. Oars skim flat to stay quiet. The edge hums as it feathers. The feather whisper settles at your ear and remains there, calm and sure, while the boat follows the dim shore and the long night keeps faith with your hands. The feather whisper grows finer as the channel draws in, and you answer by making the pull small. You row half pulls and hold the catch low, careful and exact, keeping the blade near the skin of the water. Rock to your left smells of seaweed and old wet stone. Water to your right smells clean and thin. The oar lies warm in your hands, sweet with pitch at the edge where lamplight touched it earlier. Your shoulders begin to warm while the rest of you stays cool. The oarlocks answer each motion with a muted oarlock murmur, soft as cloth sliding over wood. You settle your feet firm against the brace and count nothing, only the feel. Knees press the bench edge in a steady rhythm. The board gives a small reminder of its grain and then becomes part of your body. You hold the catch low so the blade does not rise and tell the cliffs your work. Salt rests on your lips and keeps you anchored to this dark water. You lean and draw through the light pull, then let the blade ride flat again. The oarlock murmur stays kind and low, as if it were made of felt. You rub a pinch of sand over your palms and close your hands around the shaft. Grain whispers once, and then settles. Pitch leaves a faint taste you almost like. It is simple and strong. The floorboards are cool through the soles and keep your mind clean. You slide a finger under the thong at your wrist and snug it so the cloth will not wander. The oarlock murmur follows the turn of leather on cord, always shy, never sharp. You lean into the curve of the hull and feel how it takes care of you. The seam near your heel is straight as a drawn line. The brace carries your weight as if it had been carved for your bones alone. Water under the keel gives a hush that lifts and falls by less than a hand. Even the quiet has its own tide. A dog far inland coughs and forgets itself. A boat rope somewhere ahead pulls long and then rests. The oarlock murmur folds those sounds into itself and keeps the hour gentle. You row half pulls again, then again, soft as a hand smoothing cloth. The catch stays low. The feather touch is still there, but now it is a smaller thing, not a show, only a way to move without telling the shore. The taste of pitch lingers at the back of your mouth and says wood will hold. Your shoulders warm more. Your knees press the edge and learn to love it. The oarlock murmur marks each return, a hush of leather that begins and ends without fuss. You check the blade face with the side of your thumb and feel a thin line of cool where water clung. You wipe it on the hem of your cloak and leave a darker stripe that will dry before anyone cares. The air smells of weed and a little fish. It is not rough, only honest. A rat tries the rocks and quits. Your jaw keeps loose so salt will not pile there. The oarlock murmur travels down the line of benches like a soft thread, tying one row to the next. You shorten the reach for a pinch of time where the channel tightens. Stone leans in and then leans back. The boat understands. You keep the pull exact, the shoulder small, the wrist quiet. Spray pricks your cheek. It tastes clean and wakes you a little. You hear cloth rub wood near your knee and then nothing. The oarlock murmur answers these small changes, never louder, only present. You drink from the water skin and return it to its hook. Leather tastes light. Clay gives a gentle earth under it. You press a crumb of bread to the roof of your mouth and let it soften. It tastes of old grain and one day in sun. You keep rowing while you eat, because the half-pull allows it. The oarlock murmur keeps company with the drum's slow thrum under the forward deck, two soft lines that never cross. You rub the blister line under your cloth wrap and find it steady. A smear of ash on the oar leather keeps the turn smooth. The smell is like a quiet hearth. The floorboard seam under your left foot lifts a grain. You press it down with your thumb, and it agrees to stay. Rock breathes cold near your shoulder and cools the sweat that tried to rise there. The oarlock murmur says yes to the next return and leaves no edge. You watch the dark coast drift past without looking for detail. Night here is a single color, but it holds many shapes. Low ledge, little cove, tooth of stone, weed bank. You keep the blade face true on each shape, as if the water itself were a belt you must not scuff. Salt sits steady on your tongue. Smoke from some late fire does not reach this place. You lean, draw, and lay flat again. The oarlock murmur is your quiet calendar, each stroke a page you turn without looking down. You shift the cloak edge under your thigh, so no seam will rise against the bone. Linen is rough, then warm. Your hip rests deeper into the hull's curve. The wood gives a private support you cannot see. You brush a wet thread from your sleeve and taste iron faintly where it touched your lip. Your palms hold the shaft with a light hold that is stronger than any tight grip. The oarlock murmur moves with you, a breathless voice that speaks only when needed. You pass a spit of rock where seaweed hangs like old cloth. The smell grows green and strong, then thins. The boat glides without rush. You shorten one pull and lengthen the next to keep the nose in the center of the channel. Your knees keep their small press on the bench edge. Your shoulders turn their warmth into an easy engine. Water under the keel says nothing changed. The oarlock murmur slips past the spit like a whisper in a hall. You check the thole cord with 2 fingers and hold it for a count that has no number. The fiber is wet but loyal. It will not let the pin strike. You shift the shaft a finger's width, and the leather rides the cord like a wheel made for this night alone. Tar is gone from the air. Only sea and weed remain. The drum up forward stays low and steady, more friend than guide. The oarlock murmur fits itself to that thrum and keeps your hands patient. You take one longer pull to feel how the water holds you now, then return to the half. Shoulders warm, back settles, breath stays untroubled in the chest. The blade kisses the water's skin and leaves it not much changed. A gull turns over you with no voice, only the faint dry rub of wing on air. The taste of pitch still keeps its small place in your mouth. The oarlock murmur sounds and fades, never asking to be heard twice. A neighbor's sandal moves, and the board under it gives a tiny cry. Then all is quiet. Another rower adjusts a wrap. The cloth makes a soft rasp and grows still. You feel the line of the crew not as faces but as warmths at your sides, as timed pressures in the wood, as steadiness you can trust without sight. Far ahead, a boat rope answers the slow tide with a drawn-out sigh. The oarlock murmur threads through all of it and leaves no knot. You wipe the blade once more with the edge of your cloak and let the water close without a sound. Your hands switch from rough to smooth on the shaft and back again, making tiny changes as the night asks for them. The floorboards keep their cool. They ground your legs so they can work and not wander. A smell of clean mud comes and goes from some hidden bank. The oarlock murmur gives a soft reply, and you accept it like a nod from a quiet elder. You lean into the next small pull, careful and exact. The catch stays low. The blade does not rise to flash where there is no light. Your shoulders work with a heat that does not sting. Your knees hold their rhythm against the bench edge, pressing and easing, pressing and easing. The taste of pitch lingers and makes the wood feel near and alive. The oarlock murmur hums at the turn and becomes the only music the channel will allow. You adjust the thong on your wrist so the knot lies flat and will not bite. Cloth is damp and rough. You press it smooth. Your fingers smell of pitch, salt, and a little iron from the pin. The hull's curve at your hip feels like the inside of a hand. You shift your weight by a grain, so the bench will forgive you later. The oarlock murmur balances that small shift and keeps the pull straight. You keep to half pulls for a long stretch where rock on both sides agrees to be quiet. The water changes shade under the hull by next to nothing, yet you can feel it. You make the catch low every time, as if laying a bowl on a table without clink. Salt dries on your cheek and returns. Your tongue learns not to chase it. The oarlock murmur stays modest and true, a leather hush that asks for no praise. You pass a narrow mouth where cold air slips down from land. It smells of damp grass and goats, though you hear none. The boat glides through the chill and comes back to the sea's milder breath. You lean and draw with the same small care. Your shoulders keep their good heat. Your knees keep their faithful press. The oarlock murmur continues, never late, never early. You feel the channel open just a little by the way the hull relaxes. The pull does not need to be so guarded now, but you hold the half because patience is easier to carry than regret. The air tastes wider, though the sky still holds no color. Water makes a long hush against the plank, calm and regular. Your hands know they will work for many more lines yet, but there is no edge in that knowing. The oarlock murmur stays with you like a small friend at your elbow. You smooth the cloth under your thigh and rub a line of warmth into the skin above the knee where the bench has made a claim. Linen holds a trace of soap. It comforts without trying. You pass your thumb along the oar's pitch and feel it tackier now that your hands are warm. Rock's seaweed smell thins, then returns from a fresh ledge. The half pull repeats, packed with care and nothing spare. The oarlock murmur closes each motion like a door laid softly into its frame. You take one more small mouthful of water and let the clay taste stay as a clean line in your mouth. Salt nests with it and becomes less sharp. A gull far off gives 2 notes and stops. The drum forward keeps a steady palm on the hour. You lean, draw, and lay flat again. The oarlock murmur offers that mild reply you have come to trust, and the narrow work goes on without strain. You feel, more than see, the channel ease. You let the pull lengthen by a finger and test the change, then shorten it again out of respect for what lies ahead. The taste of pitch still lingers, as if to keep wood and hand joined. Your shoulders are warm and sure. Your knees keep time on the bench edge, quiet and loyal. And the oarlock murmur, muted and even, fades and returns, until it is the last thing you notice as the boat slides onward in the dark. The narrow work stays with you as the passage eases, and you let the pull grow quiet and small. The oar rests warm in your hands, the leather turns without complaint. Rock on the left still smells of seaweed and old water. The sky keeps its dark lid with no color yet to name. You make room for a simple task that belongs to this hour. The small cup waits near your knee, and the cup clink it makes against the board is soft and kind. You reach for the cloth wrap and open it by feel. Bread sits inside, dry and plain, with a fine dust that smells like stone and sun from another day. Crumb breaks under your thumb and leaves a little grit on your fingers. You hold the oar with one hand and keep the blade near the surface, light as a leaf. You lift the bread to your mouth and chew slowly. The cup clink comes again when your knee nudges the rim, gentle as a finger on clay. You take the water skin from its hook and pour into the small cup only what you need. Water glows nowhere. It is only dark and cool. Yet your mouth knows it at once. It tastes faintly of leather and clay, the simple mix you have known for years. You keep one hand on the oar and one on the cup, and the boat does not mind. The cup's lip touches your teeth and gives a tiny silver sound against enamel. That soft cup clink becomes the hour's quiet mark. You drink in short sips, letting each mouthful sit before you send it down. Salt on your lips turns mild under the clay note, then returns like a known friend. Crumb is dry and kind. It takes the water and grows gentle. The oar waits in your other hand, steady and sure. Pitch on the shaft keeps its sweet, sharp trace in the nose. The oarlocks answer the little feather of the blade with a low oarlock murmur, and the cup clink answers from near your knee. Two small voices that do not argue. You fold the breadcloth back so stray pieces will not ride the floor. A few crumbs cling to your palm. You wipe them into the sand bowl with the care you use for all small things. Sand hisses a little as it takes them, and then is still. A neighbor clears a throat and grows quiet. Far behind, someone sets a skin down and the leather sighs. The channel gives nothing loud in return. The cup clink stays soft when you set the cup against the rib. You hold the oar again with both hands and row half pulls while the boat glides along the dim shore. Shoulders warm in a slow glow. Knees press the bench edge, gentle and exact. The air smells of weed and clean water, touched by the faintest smoke from far land. Your tongue still tastes clay and grain, and a little pine from the pitch you handled earlier. The oarlocks murmur when the leather turns, and the cup clink hums in your memory like a small bell put under cloth. You pour the last swallow and lift the cup again, careful not to spill. The lip meets your mouth and chills it, then leaves. You set the cup down near your knee, and it gives that small, careful clink, softer than shell on sand. A gull settles somewhere unseen. Wing rubs air, and then nothing. A rat tries a beam under the pier you passed and falls back to its hole. Rope on a distant boat draws over a ring and stops, as if the tide itself were holding its voice. You shift your cloak edge under your thigh so the seam lies flat. Linen is rough and then warm. You press it smooth with the heel of your hand. You touch the blister wrap under your palm and find it true. A smear of tar on your wrist gives off a faint, sweet smell, not strong, only present. You pull with the quiet rhythm that belongs to this passage. The oarlocks keep their low murmur at each turn, and the cup clink waits, patient, the way a watchstone waits in a pocket. You tear another small piece of bread and let it soften on your tongue. It tastes of mill dust and last light, though none shows now. Your jaw works easy. No rush lives in it. You listen to the hull's hush under the planks, and the leaf-thin sound the blade makes when it feathers. You swallow and hold the oar in the same calm line. The cup is cool against your knee, and the next cup clink is no louder than a thought when the rim meets wood. You rub a pinch of sand over your fingers to dry the crumbs. Grain scratches once, then gives you clean skin. You reach for the cup and pour a little more, the skin breathing in your palm before it settles back on its hook. Leather smells like rain kept in shade. Clay from the cup smells faintly of dust after water. You keep one hand on the shaft, and the boat stays true. The oarlocks speak their low piece. The cup clink answers, soft as a moth against a bowl. The wind shifts by a hair and brings pine from a roof beam you left behind. It stays a moment and leaves you with seaweed again. You hold your place in the narrow bench, and your back learns the curve it loves. Your feet keep the brace and carry the work without complaint. Salt dries where spray touched your cheek and leaves a line you do not mind. The cup cools your fingers. The oar warms them. Between the two, your hands find balance. You rest the cup and take the shaft in both hands for a longer glide. The blade goes in and out with no splash. The catch stays low. The water accepts you and says little. Your tongue keeps a memory of bread, and it calms the mouth like a simple song you heard long ago. The oarlocks murmur in their shy way, and the cup waits, quiet as a pebble, ready for its next small clink. You listen for the others and hear only kind sounds. Cloth whispers on wood. A strap slides and stops. Someone mends a knot by feel and lets the tail fall back to its place. A careful foot shifts on a board and rests. No one breaks the night. The drum forward gives its palm-soft thrum, and you row to it without counting. The cup clink remains the smallest sound of all, a tiny star under your knee. You finish the bread piece and brush your hands over the sand bowl so no crumb will teach mice to love this deck. Sand moves like dry rain and is done. You touch the oar leather once more and feel ash there, smooth as flour. The floorboards are cool. They keep you grounded. The sky holds to dark, though it seems not as heavy as before. You draw and return, and the oarlocks answer with murmur upon murmur, tender and true. You lift the cup to your mouth again and notice the rim's thin chip, smooth with use. It does not cut. It only marks years of work like this. Clay cools your lip and tongue. Water loosens salt's hold. You swallow and feel the chest settle into quiet. You set the cup down and let it find its nook. The cup clink it makes is soft and exact, like a promise kept and not spoken of again. You tie the skin's thong in a loose loop so it will not wander. Leather touches wood and gives a mild sigh. You tuck the breadcloth deep in its place, dry side out, and fold the edge under. Soap's clean scent lives there with smoke and old grain. You smooth your knee against the bench edge where the board has its say. The oarlocks murmur when you turn the blade. A small voice that keeps courage low and steady. You look toward the shore you cannot see and find it with your nose. Seaweed and stone tell you enough. The boat carries on in its known curve. Your hands hold wood and give back only what is needed. A goat somewhere on land scuffs a post and falls quiet. A mule adds a dull sound, then forgets you. The cup sits weightless near your knee, cool and willing. A simple piece that does its work without pride. You ease into another string of light strokes. The blade kisses water and leaves it nearly unmarked. The drum forward holds its slow law. Your shoulders spread warmth that never burns. The taste of pitch lingers at the roof of your mouth and makes the wood feel close, like a known friend in the dark. The oarlocks murmur. The small cup, calm in its place, seems to listen for its part. You take one last sip, careful and small, it is enough. Clay and leather leave their clean line on your tongue and teach the salt to be gentle. You wipe the rim with the edge of your cloak and set the cup down with respect. The cup clink that follows is the tiniest answer the night gives you, light as dust falling into a bowl. You keep one hand on the oar and one on the quiet you've made. You draw and return for a while, letting food and water settle where they need to go. The boat slides along the dim coast. The air holds weed and sea and a hint of pine that comes and goes. Your palms keep the grain, your heels keep the brace, your knees keep the edge. The oarlocks murmur, and the sound fades between strokes like a tide that knows patience. The cup rests, cool against wood. You look once more at the small circle of things that matter. Rope coiled true, bowl of sand waiting, cloth folded, water skin tied, cup steady. Each sits where it should in this moving room. You lean, pull, and let the blade lie flat again. The sea answers in a hush that never lifts its voice. The oarlocks give their gentle murmur, and the small cup clink lingers like a memory under your hand. The last soft note as the dark holds and the channel carries you on. The last sip rests warm in your middle, and the cup sits quiet by your knee as the oar finds its place again. Water holds the hull like a careful hand, and the coast stays a thick line with no color. Your palms wait on the wood, easy and sure. A hooded lantern lifts near the stern, rises a hand's width, then folds back down. Oil lives in its shadow with a leaf-sweet smell. Somewhere close, a tiny ring kisses a hook with a soft touch, the first small bronze kiss that tells you to listen. You watch the dark shape at the stern move with care. The hood turns and hides, then shows a thin mouth of light, no wider than a coin. Bronze fittings smell faintly of oil, warmed by the hidden flame. The board under you is cool. The grain presses a kind map into your skin. You hold, not stiff, not slack, and wait for the next lift. When it comes, the ring finds the hook again, a quick, almost shy bronze kiss that does not carry far. The line of boats flows like a slow river, each hull a seed the water knows. Oars skim flat to keep quiet. Leather learns the chord without quarrel. Weed from the stones brings its green, cold scent. Salt sits steady on your tongue. Pitch on the shaft keeps its sweet edge near your nose, clean and sharp. You match the small pull to the lantern's motion without numbers. The bronze kiss marks the turn as if a finger tapped a page and then drew away. The hood rises higher and holds, and you ease a longer feather, still low at the catch. Your shoulders warm, your knees press the bench edge and find that old, steady rhythm. The floorboards are cool through sandal soles. They keep your work honest. The hull's hush glides under all things like cloth laid over a table. When the hood sinks, you settle the blade flat, keep the oar near, and still your hands. The ring touches metal again, a gentle bronze kiss that feels like a nod. You rub a whisper of sand over your fingers so the grain will hold without strain. The bowl's dry sound is small and quick, then gone. A neighbor coughs once and ends it. Another shifts a strap and lets it lie. From shore, a goat noses a post and forgets you at once. You fold the knot at your wrist so it lies flat and will not bite. At the stern, the lantern tilts and the ring finds the hook with a neat bronze kiss that points you forward. You keep the pull half-length and exact. The catch stays low, careful as a bowl set on stone. Pitch leaves a taste you can name. It says wood will not fail. Oil in the air keeps company with salt, and the mix is simple to live with. The oar leather turns and makes almost no claim on your ear. The tiny bronze kiss returns, a mark so slight that only hands at work would hear it. You read the hood the way a hand reads a chord by touch. Lift and hold. Lower and rest. Lift and carry. Your back draws the line. Your knees give it weight and then ease. The lantern shows almost nothing. The message is in its quiet way of moving. The ring's small kiss on the hook says go, then says wait, and each word is no more than a grain of sound. The river of hulls keeps to its lane. You see nothing sharp, only shapes that agree to be dark together. Rope on a near bow slides over a ring with a wet sigh, then sleeps again. A rat tries wood on a far pier and plans a wiser path. You lift the skin, take a thin drink, and let leather and clay calm the salt. The ring at the stern touches the hook, that light bronze kiss, and the pull you give is smooth and small. You watch for drift and find none worth naming. The oar stays warm. Wood gives back what you lend it. Cloth at your thigh slides. You fold the edge under and press it flat. The drum under the forward deck holds a soft thrum, patient as slow rain. A bronze nail near your foot smells faintly of oil. Even metal learns to be quiet. The ring returns to the hook with that same brief bronze kiss, as if time itself were kept in a tiny cup. You check the thole cord with 2 fingers and love the way it yields without letting go. The cord is damp and loyal. It listens to leather better than most men do. You wipe a dark line from the blade with the edge of your cloak and leave a clean path for water. Smoke does not reach you here. Only sea and stone and the small, deep smell of weed. The hood rises, and every back around you seems to know it without looking. The bronze kiss lands and fades, and the boats move like one slow reed, pulled by the same tide. You feel the stern lantern ease to a lower hold, and you follow with a shorter draw. The floorboard seam under your heel is straight. The brace keeps its promise. Salt dries along your lip and leaves a soft edge you do not mind. The oar's pitch scent keeps steady. The wood grain under your palm feels near, like a good neighbor in a narrow room. The ring kisses the hook again, quiet and sure. You almost smile that a thing so small can mind so many arms. You lean into a longer feather when the hood lifts higher. You return to half when it falls. The hull slides with a hush that gathers the night and keeps it kind. Bronze at the stern gives no flash, only the faint air of warmed oil. You do not count. Your body counts for you. The oar meets water, then air, then water again, careful and exact. The bronze kiss keeps its low place in the hour like a pebble under linen. You take in the row behind you as a warmth on your back, and the row ahead as a path under your hands. A long shadow to port might be a mole or only a thought. You give it the respect of a clean, low catch. A boat rope far off answers a turn of tide with a slow rasp and is quiet. The drum holds its thrum, simple and even. The hood dips and rises. The ring obeys. The bronze kiss returns, light as dust. You press your knees to the bench edge and hold the line that lets the prow aim true. The sky keeps its single shade, yet something in it feels less heavy. The smell of weed thins by a hair, then returns. You roll the shaft a finger's width and feel the oar leather like a soft wheel in your hands. The stern gives another small sign, and you let the pull move as if the boat were finishing a sentence. The ring touches the hook, the quiet bronze kiss, and you answer without a word. You set the water skin deeper into its nook and tie the thong so it will not wander. The knot knows your hand and settles at once. You brush a few crumbs from your cloak into the sand bowl so nothing will learn bad habits. The bowl whispers and forgets. A mule on shore gives a low sound and falls back to sleep. At the stern, metal touches metal, and the bronze kiss keeps the river of hulls inside its banks. You rub a trace of ash into the oar leather, not because it must be done now, but because small care is what you have to give. Ash smells like an old hearth. It makes the turn softer still. Your palms wait on the wood and feel the grain, long and straight, as if the tree had grown for this hour. Oil in the bronze glows nowhere, yet you think you can taste its clean edge in the air. The hood nods. The ring touches. The bronze kiss is the soft mark you trust. You follow another quiet set. Lift, hold, lower. Lift, hold, lower. The hull's hush runs under you like a low song no one sings out loud. Rope on your own rail answers a small wave with a slow slide and then lies still. You keep the blade close to the skin of the water, so rock will not hear you. Salt sits easy in your mouth. Clay from the last sip lives beside it. The ring finds the hook again, and the bronze kiss steps forward and back with the same old grace. You pass a place where the channel thinks about widening and decides not to. Stone on your left breathes cold. Stone on your right gives nothing at all. You row to the lantern's hand and not to your own pride. Shoulder warms, knee presses, back carries, hands release. The oar leather turns and makes its soft hush on cord. The bronze kiss lands, and the line of boats moves with one small mind. You pause inside a hold and let the oar rest against the pin. Wood is warm through the cloth wrap. The pin is cool where it shows. You rub the blister line with a thumb and feel it calm under the band. The air has no smoke now, only salt and the green of weed. The hood lowers out of sight. A longer quiet follows. Then metal meets metal again. A tiny bronze kiss, and the river stirs. You lean and carry light water, then lay the blade flat, then do it again. The lantern's hidden mouth is not for eyes. It is for hands and backs and knees. Oil in bronze keeps its tiny promise. Rope in ring keeps its own. A neighbor shifts. Cloth sighs. A small knot is teased and conquered. The hull's hush gathers all these soft pieces into one skin. The bronze kiss returns, a last small coin of sound set on the rim of the night. You hold the oar across your thighs and listen once more. Lamp hum near the ribs, sand resting in its bowl. Water smoothing wood, your skin cool where the wind finds it. Your tongue steady with salt and a trace of clay. And near the stern, a tiny ring kisses a hook, quiet, exact, enough. So you lean and pull in answer, while the line of boats goes on like a slow river, and the bronze kiss fades into the hush and leaves the night whole. The tiny bronze kiss fades behind you, and the river of hulls moves as one long hush along the dim shore. The sky begins to thin from ink to milk, not bright, only softer, and the cliffs show a pale edge where black once sat. The air feels cooler on your cheeks and on the back of your neck where the cloak has slipped. Weed along the stones sends up its clean green smell, and a dry taste of old smoke leaves your tongue. Your palms rest on warm wood that remembers the night. The blade lifts and settles, and from its edge, a slow line of drops falls back with a patient oar drip that marks the hour without numbers. You lean and let the oar go a little deeper now, careful and even. Water receives the blade with a steady hold, fuller than before. Your knees press the bench edge and keep their small rhythm. The board under them is cool and sure. Tar has grown faint, and the sea stands clearer in your nose. You feel a drop run down your wrist from the feathered edge and slide under the cloth wrap to disappear. The oar drip returns from your neighbor's blade as well, soft as rain leaving the lip of a tiled roof. Gulls skim low over the channel, their wings brushing air with a dry, low sound that passes and does not return. One gull's pale belly takes the new light and returns it to the sea in a line that breaks and heals at once. You watch without staring. Your hands keep their work. The hull's hush grows rounder under you as the water wakes. Clay from the last sip of water still lives at the back of your mouth and makes the salt kind. Drops gather under each blade, then slide down with a small oar drip, a slow counting that needs no hand. You check the thong at your wrist and smooth it so the knot lies flat. Cloth is damp, then warm again from the heat in your skin. A thin strand of pitch on the shaft catches the new gray and shows as a dull seam you can trust. You drag a pinch of sand across your palms and feel the grit renew your grip without sting. A neighbor at the lower bench clears a throat and settles. Another shifts a cloak, cloth on wood, then quiet. From the blade tip, one drop hangs, swells, and lets go. The oar drip landing as lightly as a seed. The distant shore offers a light haze of smoke where fires have fallen to ash. It hangs like thread, colorless and thin, more suggestion than line. A goat calls once from land and stops, the sound small and harmless in the wide early hour. You taste weed and clean water and a faint iron from the pin where your fingers brushed. The oar moves deeper and comes back smooth. The leather turns on cord in a hush that pleases the ear. Drops run from the blade's heel and collect at the edge of your knuckle, then fall at last with that patient oar drip that feels like calm. You adjust the cloak edge under your thigh so the seam will not argue with bone. Linen smells of soap and a little smoke. It warms under you and learns your shape. The floorboards keep their cool against your soles. They hold you steady while the channel opens by the width of a thought. The drum under the forward deck stays soft and slow, less a rule, more a hand on your back. You let the pull lengthen by a finger and find the body ready. From each blade in the line, drops form and fall. Oar drip, then quiet, then oar drip again. Each one small enough to be trusted. You lift the water skin and wet your lips without hurry. Leather is mild on the tongue. Clay is a low sweetness under it. You hang the skin back on its hook and tie the thong so it will not wander. Breadcloth rests near your knee with the last dry corner folded in. You leave it as it is. The oar's pitch smell is softer now, but it stays, like pine saved in a room. A gull cuts across the prow and throws a brief chill over your face. The next stroke lands deeper and kind, and the oar drip answers as if it had waited for that simple change. You pass a place where stone gives way to low sand, and the scent shifts from weed to salt alone. The hull loosens and rides easier for a stretch. You keep the pull even and let the shoulders speak quietly with heat. A rope on a distant boat drags once over a ring and is done. Someone aft sets a small hook in a notch. Wood ticks, then forgets it. Drops trail along your blade again and step off one by one. The oar drip keeping the smallest company with the drum's low thrum. You rub the blister line under your palm wrap and find it calm. Ash in the leather has done its humble work. The turn stays smooth. You roll the shaft a finger's width, so the blade faces true, and the grain runs under your hands like a path you know from childhood. The air is cooler on your cheeks, but it is a clean cool that helps the skin wake without scolding. Smoke thins still more over the far roofs and lifts by a breath into the pale. The oar drip falls from your blade and taps the sea as lightly as a fingertip on a bowl. The island's long back, Salamis in name, a darker shape to you, leans away and shows you a new slice of morning. You do not chase it. You let it arrive. Your heels keep the brace, your knees press and ease. Your back carries the line and brings it home. The taste of pitch lingers at the top of the mouth and makes the wood feel closer, as if it wanted the same work you want. A gull gives one thin note and is lost in the mild wash of water. Drops slide from the blade edge and fall in turn. Oar drip after oar drip, a string of notes laid out on calm water. You brush crumbs from your cloak into the sand bowl and listen to the tiny hiss as grain covers them. The bowl smells of old hearths and clean dust. It rests beside the coil of rope that shines a little in the new gray. Your neighbor's sandal settles on the board, a small, honest sound. A rat under some shore plank chooses sleep over mischief. You lean, carry, and return, the blade traveling deeper but not hard. The oar drip motif keeps the hour measured, soft and exact. A patient counting that harms nothing. You watch gulls skim low, wings near the surface, white now against milk sky. Water takes their shadows and smooths them like cloth. Your cheeks feel the day's first cool with a tender hand. It slips along the jaw and under the ear and asks for no reply. Weed smell is behind you now. Clean salt takes its place without hurry. Drops form along the lower curve of the blade, fatten, and slip away in order. Each oar drip lands with a sound that is not quite a sound, more a soft agreement between wood and sea. You press your wrist thong flatter and wipe a thin line of wet from your sleeve. Cloth holds the chill and then gives it back to air. It does not hinder. The blade's pitch shows a dull shine now that the sky can feed it. You draw a longer stroke to feel how the hull wants to move and learn that it wishes to move well. Your mouth keeps a light clay taste as if it were a steady friend, and the salt rides beside it. The oar drip keeps to its place, gentle and sure, one drop following the last, as if they had decided among themselves to be kind. You glance down the row of shapes you trust. Each back bends and rises in the same quiet arc, as if the morning had written one line for all of you. Cloth rustles, then lies still. A strap slides and finds its notch. A small cough goes out and does not repeat itself. The drum forward tells the next little length of time in a soft palm sound. The blades go deeper by the smallest measure, and drops fall clean from their heels. Oar drip, pause, oar drip, like small beads laid carefully in a string. You feel the bench ask for a shift and give it one. Linen under your thigh smooths, warm and ready. The floorboard seam under your heel is straight as always, and it steadies the mind. You touch the oar leather once and feel the ash there, fine as flour. Weed at the far point fades to stone. The channel takes on the open of day, though light has not yet declared itself. The oar drip continues, patient and mild, as if the sea itself were counting you onward. The sky reaches past milk to something thinner, almost water in color, and the gulls climb a little and choose other work. You breathe through your mouth. The air is cool and clean. Your shoulders keep a quiet fire and do not complain. The blade moves deeper and returns without splash. The catch is low and exact. On the feather, short silver lines draw down and fall, drop by drop, the oar drip motif steady as a humble bell under cloth. You hold the wood, hold the hour, and let the slow dawn gather around you like an old cloak set right on your shoulders. The pale water holds your oar and gives it back, deeper than in the night. and the last small drops fall away behind you. Then the hull leans. It is not sudden. It is a slow tilt, a careful hand at your ribs. You feel the turn begin before your eyes know it. The wood under you sends a small change into your hip and thigh. From the stern, leather on the tiller gives a low rudder croon, soft as a hum behind a door, and you ease your stroke into the curve. You keep one hand a shade lighter than the other and let the blade face the water with more care. The pull grows longer on the outside of the turn and shorter on the inside, a small trade that keeps the line clean. Your knees press the bench edge in their simple rhythm, patient and exact. The floorboards stay cool through sandal soles. They steady your legs while the boat leans. Salt rides the air, clear and thin. A wake curls beside you and throws spray to your lip. It tastes sharply of sea and wakes your tongue in a kind way. Pine pitch warms in the sun that is not yet strong, and its sweet edge rises from the shaft where your hands have polished it. Tar near the pin gives a darker note under it, a low, friendly weight in the nose. You rub a whisper of sand into your palms so the wood will not slip. Grain presses back like fine cloth, warm now, not rough. The hull leans another finger toward the turn, and the rudder croon answers with a long, even line that settles inside your chest. You follow it with your shoulders and keep from hurrying. You look along the oars and see the shapes of your neighbors fall into the same small change. Outside arms lengthen, inside arms shorten. Leather turns on cord with almost no voice at all. A neighbor coughs once and grows quiet. Another lifts a skin and drinks, then ties the thong so it will not wander. From the stern comes that low rudder croon, leather on wood, steady and sure. The sound is like a hand that knows your back and reminds your body what to do without words. The island's flank shows new lines as the boat swings. Stone darkens where wet rocks meet water. Foam makes thin lace, then draws away. Weed smell fades and returns by turns. Far inland, smoke thins over small fires. The air feels cooler on your cheeks than it did a moment ago. You carry the stroke deeper and then lighter, matching the curve as if it were a path drawn in dust. A rope on some other hull slides once over a ring, a smooth answer to tide, then stops. The rudder croon keeps a soft place in the day. You ease the inside blade close to the skin of the water, low and clean. You let the outside blade pull a little more and do not fight it. Your knees press and ease, press and ease. The bench speaks its plain language into your bones and then grows silent again. You taste the wake on your lip once more, rich with salt and a tiny iron edge where spray touched the pin. Pine in the pitch feels warmer now, like sun on a beam in a quiet room. Behind you, the tiller leather gives that same low croon, a string laid across time. You check the thong at your wrist and smooth the knot flat so it will not bite when the pull grows long again. Cloth is damp and rough, then soft as it warms to your skin. You brush a thin line of wet from your sleeve and flick it into the water. The oar answers your hands without struggle. The blade sits where you put it. The hull leans a hair back toward level as the turn opens. You watch the bow swing past a small, pale point of stone and let the body follow. The rudder croon eases, then returns, never sharp, always near. The sun finds the pitch on your shaft and brings up a dull shine. Tar loosens a quiet scent that reminds you of rope and quays and long days when nothing needed to hurry. You hold, lean, pull, and return, each line in its place. The wake behind the stern lays itself down in soft bars that fold and smooth like cloth. Spray lifts once and beads on your cheek. You taste it and smile inside, though no one sees it. The leather at the tiller sings low again. That rudder croon like a little song, meant only for the hands that steer and the arms that row. You feel the helmsman's work through board and rib. It is a pressure that is not force, a suggestion that becomes your own choice. The boat turns a little more, then holds, then lets the nose find the new lane. You lighten your inside pull and keep your outside long. Your shoulders warm and stay kind. They do not burn. The floorboards whisper under a neighbor's shifting heel, a sound as small as a grain dropped in a bowl. The rudder croon grows round for a breath, and then slips back to a thread. You take a small mouthful from the skin and let leather and clay wash the salt clean from the tongue. You hang the skin back on its peg and tie it loose. You fold the breadcloth once more and press it into its nook, so crumbs will not learn to travel. The smell of old grain lives there with soap and smoke. Ahead of you, gulls skim the low light, wings making a dry hush that passes without claim. From behind, the tiller leather keeps its tone, a low rudder croon that folds your pull into the turn like a seam that will not show. The line of boats flows with you, a slow river that has chosen one bed among many. You watch the far hull on the outside bend give a little more water to the oars, longer and deeper. The inside line keeps small half pulls and never slaps. Rope on your own rail rises and falls by a finger's width and gives a tiny rustle, then rests. A rat under some shore plank forgets mischief and lets the morning be. The rudder croon holds, quiet and faithful, and the hull keeps the turn as if it had known it from the start. You touch the thole cord with 2 fingers and feel it loyal and damp. Ash in the leather wrap has done its work. The turn of the oar stays gentle. Your palms heat the pitch just enough to wake its scent, sweet and sharp together. The bench edge prints a soft line into the skin above your knee. You lift and settle to ease it, then carry on. The wake whispers along the plank, and the spray reaches you again, leaving salt at the corner of your mouth, simple and clean. The tiller leather sings low, the rudder croon patient as tide. You think of the small tools that make this hour sound whole. Rope that does not shout, a bowl that holds sand, a cloth that takes crumbs and does not complain, a knife that sleeps in its sheath, a lamp hooded now in daylight. All of them sit where they should. You hold the oar and give the curve what it asks, not more. Pine pitch warms and marks your palm with a faint, sticky sweetness. Tar keeps its quiet weight beside it. The rudder behind you keeps that soft croon, leather moving on wood the way wind moves on grass. The island's shoulder slides away and shows a new run of coast, pale and plain. Stone on the near side smells less of weed and more of clean water. The air strokes your face with a cool hand that does not overstay. Your arms settle into a deeper pull, steady and even, now that the curve has loosened. Oar leather turns with a low murmur you hardly hear. The rudder croon thins and smooths out as the tiller straightens, a last kind line that fades under the hush of the hull. You take a crumb stuck to your cloak and let it fall into the sand bowl so it will not call mice. Sand sounds like dry rain and then is quiet. A neighbor's cloak brushes wood and folds back into stillness. Far away, a goat makes a small sound and finds grass. You watch the prow draw a path in water you do not own, and you enjoy that it leaves little behind. The rudder croon returns once, as if to say the turning is done, then lies down inside the day. You carry the stroke longer now, Deeper than in the night, but still easy. Your knees press the bench edge, then let go. Your back holds the line you have kept since dusk. The wake smooths and opens. Grass scent gives way to full salt again. Pine on your palms stays warm and mild. The leather at the tiller gives one more low song, a last map of sound under your hands, and then it is only water on wood, oar on cord, morning on skin. You lean, watch, and wait inside the work. The curve behind you feels like a story told in few words, well chosen. The boat sits level, pleased with itself in a modest way. The sky climbs paler by the finger, and the sea accepts it. You hold the oar where it belongs, and let the day gather around you with no need to ask for more. Under all, quiet and sure, the memory of that low rudder croon lingers like a line sewn under cloth, hidden but strong, while the hull rides straight and the spray at your lip dries to salt. The last line of the rudder croon fades into the morning hush, and you settle the oar in both hands as the hull finds straight water again. The boat feels longer now, as if the day stretched it, while you watched the sky grow pale. Under all that wood, deeper than board and rib, you sense the bronze, a hidden weight that holds a purpose like a heavy thought. It lives forward of you, under the skin, quiet and sure. The deck smells stronger in the thin sun. Warm wood sends up a clean resin edge you almost taste. Along the bow, water parts and lays itself down again. A quiet wake hush that runs soft along the hull. You slip your sandals loose and let your toes find the board itself. Grain lifts a little from the night's damp, rough and honest against skin. You shift your stance by a finger's width until the seam under your heel feels straight. Your knees press the bench edge in their calm rhythm, and your hips settle into the curve that wants you. You hold the long pull and keep it steady, not hard, not light, the kind that lasts. The bow gives the same wake hush with every yard, a silk sound that never tries to be more. You rub a whisper of sand across your palms to keep the grip dry. Grain rasps once, then lies quiet, a small task done well. Pine pitch at the shaft's edge warms to your hand and carries that sweet, sharp scent that feels like sunlight trapped in wood. Tar by the pin smells darker and kind. It steadies the nose the way a stone wall steadies a lane. Salt rests on your lip from old spray and reminds you where you are without asking. The wake hush travels forward and back under your row, a soft ribbon that ties boat to water. You lean and carry, with no show of strength. The pull reaches down your back and plants there like a rooted thing. Your shoulders hold their warm glow, they do not argue. You feel the long piece of metal far ahead, as if it were part of your own body, patient and simple. Wood talks to bronze by way of water. You listen by way of hands. The bow writes a line you cannot see, and the wake hush reads it back in a quiet voice. You check the thong at your wrist and smooth the knot so it will lie flat through the longer strokes. Cloth is damp from a trickle that ran down your arm. It warms and grows soft again as your skin shares its heat. The floorboards are still cool under your bare toes. They give you the truth of the boat without asking for a price. A neighbor behind you clears a throat and returns to stillness. Another shifts a cloak. The cloth slides, then rests. The wake hush keeps its silken path along the bow, never late, never early. You reach your fingers along the thole cord and feel its loyal give. Ash rubbed into the oar leather makes the turn smooth and quiet. The smell is like a cold hearth at noon. You lift the blade a hand, feather, and set it back. The water accepts it kindly and gives it back without claim. Far to land, a goat calls once and chooses grass over fuss. Under everything, the bronze you cannot touch sits with its deep intent, and the wake hush goes on like a calm thought you do not need to finish. You take a small mouthful from the skin and hold it a moment. Leather and clay ride under the salt, cool and plain. You swallow and hang the skin back, tie the thong loose, and forget it. Your tongue finds a trace of pitch from your palm. The taste is sweet and a little bitter, a worker's taste you have known since early days. You fold the breadcloth and press it deeper so crumbs will not travel. The bow slips forward, and the wake hush lays its hand on the hull again, smoothing and smoothing as if it had all the time in the world. You rub the blister line under your palm wrap and feel it steady. The bench prints a gentle edge into the skin above your knee. You lift, settle, and the edge agrees to be kind. You lean a little longer through the pull and feel the bronze answer from far ahead, not with sound, but with a small claim on your balance. It is like the weight of a thought that will not be misplaced. A rope on a distant boat slides over a ring once and then remembers quiet. The wake hush along the bow does not change. It keeps its soft word. You watch a pale fish turn near the surface and vanish under milk water. The sky holds to its light, not bright yet, only fair. Smoke from shore thins to a color you cannot name, then leaves the day to salt. Your toes learn the deck grain, the way fingers learn a well-used tool. The pull you hold is long and steady. It puts no brag in your chest. The wake hush runs beside you, like linen drawn over a table, smooth and sure. You reach down and brush dust, only a little, from the sand bowl's rim, as if tidiness could be folded into the morning. The bowl smells of old hearths and clean earth. You set the rag where it belongs and press the edge so it will stay. A rat under some forgotten plank turns once and grows still. A gull chooses a quiet ledge and keeps its counsel. The bronze underwater remains only a sense you carry, heavy yet helpful, while the bow lines the sea with that faithful wake hush, never sharp, always near. You let your sandals lie and enjoy the board against your toes. The deck grain roughens in patches. You move a toe along it and learn each patch like a small map. Pine breathes from the shaft. Tar rests low by the pin. Salt keeps to your mouth with no harm. The long pull continues, a rope made of your own body, thrown forward and drawn back again. It is easy to think too much. The bronze underwater does not think at all. The wake hush repeats itself, which is perhaps a wise habit. The sea does not seem to mind. You press your heels against the brace and feel the boat answer as if the hull could hear your feet. The line of your back stays clean. The weight of the pull sits where it should. The rib beside your thigh is warm now, lit by a sun not yet high. You hold, lean, and return without rush. The scent of wood is stronger than before, resin and dust, and a hint of smoke that never leaves a working boat. The wake hush keeps stroking the hull like a hand smoothing a child's hair. You glance along the row of bodies who share this hour. Cloth whispers and then goes quiet. A strap shifts and settles. A cough clears and disappears into the water's low talk. You do not need faces to know them. You know them by the weight they share with the boat. The bronze carries its own silence under all of you, steady as stone set in a wall. The bow is the only talker you allow, and its wake hush never gets in the way. You tie the waterskin's thong anew and set it so it will not clap against the rib when the pull grows longer still. Your fingers smell of leather, salt, and a smear of pitch that will not leave just yet. You brush a few crumbs into the sand bowl and feel a neatness you can trust. The sun warms your cheek a degree. The other cheek keeps the nights cool a little longer. You let both conditions live without debate. The bow parts water so gently that the wake hush feels like a secret you are allowed to hear. You lean again and carry the long pull across the simple distance between you and where the oar wants to be. The blade rises, turns, and rests on the surface without splash. Then down again in the same clean line. Your palms hold the shaft with a sure, quiet hold. The bronze under the skin gives you a sense of direction that does not require sight, only a willingness to trust weight and wood. Out on the edge of thought, a mule on shore gives a low sound and goes back to hay. The wake hush remains steady, a soft path laid beside the boat. You press the cloak's hem smooth under your thigh so the seam will not sting later. Linen carries its honest smell of soap and old sun. It sits, warms, and keeps its place. The bench edge keeps its claim and does not grow mean with it. Your shoulders turn their heat into a strength that does not show. You hold a pull that could go on past noon and not grow strange. The bow keeps smoothing the day with its wake hush, and the sea accepts the courtesy. You brush the oar leather once with the rag and feel ash lift on the cloth like fine flour. The turn on the cord stays gentle. The pin, cool at first light, feels warmer now where it shows. You keep your hands low, and even so, the blade will not chatter. The bronze ahead of you sits like a promise no one needs to hear aloud. A rope on your own rail answers a small wave with a mild slide and rests. The wake hush carries on, soft and exact, your private measure of simple work. You let your tongue find the salt at the corner of your mouth and welcome it like bread. The taste is clean. It keeps you in the present where tasks are small and fair. Pine pitch holds to your palm and gives its sweetness without greed. Tar minds its post and stays modest. You watch the water gather under the bow and let go in a long, even fold. The wake hush follows that fold, no louder than cloth over stone, and leaves nothing sharp behind. You keep the long pull and feel the body wonder at its own patience. Hands hold, back carries, knees press and ease, feet settle and do not argue. The bronze under water remains where it should, and you respect that by not asking it to be anything else. The bow keeps your counsel, speaking only in that quiet wake hush that runs along the skin and makes a soft border between wood and world. You lean into one more measured reach and bring it home. The oar rests a heartbeat at the feather, then returns to the water like a careful bowl set on a table. Under your toes, the deck grain stays honest. Under your hands, the wood keeps warm. Under your body, the boat holds its long purpose. Far ahead, unseen and heavy, bronze keeps its own calm. And along the bow, the same gentle wake hush goes on smoothing the sea, a faithful sound you can carry with you, even when you close your eyes. The wake hush keeps smoothing the skin of the sea, and you carry the long pull with a quiet mind. Then the sign comes, soft as a hand on a door you already meant to open. You lift on the call and let your blade rise in time. The shaft warms your palms. The pitch scent is clean and sharp, like a pine beam in sun. Salt lives at the corner of your mouth and keeps you present. Wood brushes wood without hurry as two neighboring oars come near and settle apart again. A gentle oar kiss passes down the line, light as a moth touching water. You feather and hold, and the curve of the blade shows a pale stripe to the morning. Grain in the shaft presses its neat map into your hands. You trust every ridge. The leather at the pin turns without complaint, quiet as cloth moving over a table. The floorboards keep their cool under your toes and steady your stance. Tar at the thole gives its dark, friendly smell, and the sea answers with salt and a little weed. From somewhere aft, a strap slides and rests. Someone clears a throat and then forgets it. Another oar lifts, and the next oar kiss follows like a small nod shared between neighbors. You lean forward together, not by counting but by feel. The drummer under the forward deck keeps a low thrum, more comfort than command. You lift on the call again, and the blades rise in a smooth row, flat to the morning. Wood brushes wood at the tips, barely there, polite as a greeting given with two fingers. A thin resin scent comes from a fresh nick where two shafts once met and learned to live beside each other. You smile that the oar knows your hands better than some neighbors do. And the thought passes like a gull's shadow over quiet water. You settle the feathered blades and wait the held moment that belongs to this pattern. The hull's hush travels under you and holds everything together like a strap around a bundle. A rope on a near bow answers the tide with one long sigh and lies still again. A rat under a far shore plank thinks twice and chooses its hole. Your palms grow warm, then warmer, and the grain grows soft under sweat made honest by salt and work. At the lift, two blades brush again and give that gentle oar kiss, a small sound that belongs only to wood and to those who listen for it. You draw the oar back in, shallow and exact, then carry forward and rise once more. The deck grain roughens under your toes where night left a little damp. It is an old truth told kindly. Pine from the shaft breathes up with each lift. Tar holds low and steady. The cup you used at night sits quiet by your knee. Clay and leather linger on your tongue like a mild memory. Far inland, a goat noses a post and then finds grass. The line of oars lifts together again, and the oar kiss travels from bow to stern like a single light walking along a ledge. You brush ash across the leather with the edge of your rag, so the turn stays smooth. Ash smells like a cold hearth, and a meal finished without waste. The oarlock accepts the care, and says nothing about it. You tighten the thong at your wrist, so the knot lies flat and will not raise a new sting. The bench edge keeps its small claim on the skin above your knee. You ease, settle, and it grows polite. When the next call moves through the boat, you lift, and wood finds wood, only a touch, then space. One more oar kiss laid into the morning, then gone. The sun comes higher by the width of a finger, and pitch on the shaft warms enough to shine dull and friendly. Your neighbors keep the same light timing you keep, learned in quiet hours where nothing grand needs to happen. Cloth whispers, then stops. A heel shifts on a board and holds. The air tastes clean and carries a faint iron from the pin where spray dried at dawn. When the blades rise, the row is a field of leaves turned to the same small wind. Two at a time, maybe three, meet and part, each oar kiss soft as dust dropped into a bowl. You clean the blade face with your thumb edge and feel the cool on your skin before the water leaves it. You do not hurry the motion. You set it back to the surface like a bowl returned to a shelf that has known it for years. The hull's hush wraps the act and gives it privacy. A rope on a distant stern scrapes once across a ring and makes a thin note, then hides. Under your hands, wood keeps its steady warmth. Under your nose, resin sits with tar like two old workers leaning on the same wall. The call passes, and the oars lift, and the oar kiss moves along the benches, even and kind. You notice the small tools that make this hour feel whole, the sand bowl waiting for crumbs and grit, the knife asleep in its sheath, the cloth folded and stained where it helped. Each stays in its place. The order of these things lets the body find its own order. You hold, lean, carry, and lift in that simple loop that does not tire the mind. Salt dries on your cheek and leaves a thin, clean line. The blades rise again, and the gentle oar kiss returns, the same and new at once, the way waves repeat and never repeat. You shift your cloak edge under your thigh so a seam will not bite when the pull grows longer. Linen smells of soap and old sun. It warms quickly and learns the shape you need it to learn. Your heels keep the brace. Your knees press and ease. Your back carries the line and gives it home. The drummer's thrum remains low, a palm on hide, not a fist. Oars lift and meet for a blink, wood to wood, then part like friends who always meant to. The oar kiss travels down and back along the boat, a message with no words, a rhythm that takes nothing and gives calm. You drink once from the skin and let clay teach the salt to behave. You wipe the rim with your cloak and place the cup where it will not wander. A gull flies low and leaves a faint sound of feather on air. Far behind, someone shifts a coil and ties it neater. Hemp whispers, then sleeps. The row lifts, and oars remember how close is close enough. Fibers carry a clean resin scent that meets your nose and stays for one beat longer than you expect. The oar kiss comes again, soft as lips on wood, then gone along the line. You look toward the shore and read it by smell, not eye. Less weed now, more open salt. The channel takes this modest news and changes nothing in a hurry. Your palms slide their smallest distance on the shaft and stop. The grain holds them like a promise not to slip. The bench edge presses its gentle truth into your leg. You accept it. You lift on the call and watch the blades rise together, a fence of light faces turn to the same thin sun. Wood brushes wood in two places, then three, then two again. The oar kiss quiet as a secret shared and kept. You press the thole cord and feel where it will give and where it will hold, then trust it. The leather turns on it like a slow wheel under a steady cart. A mule on the far shore sends up one sound and then calls it enough. The boat rope near your ankle breathes once as the hull shifts, then lies back to sleep. The oars lift again, and the faint touches ripple away from you like a ring in shallow water. The oar kiss motif keeps its soft road through the crew, patient and proper, asking nothing, wasting nothing. You keep the pull gentle and the feather flat. You wait the small pause, then rise with the rest. Your shoulders warm, then settle. Your hands grow sure, then still. The smell of pitch sits with the leather's clean earth, and the tar's low weight. It is a plain mix you can live in all day. The floorboards are cool where shade still holds them, and warm where the sun finds a strip to love. The lift comes again, and the oar kiss returns, moving past you like a well-packed cart rolling over a smooth stone, noticed and then not. You watch the blades go, not to judge, only to admire the sameness made from many small differences. Each hand holds in its own way. Each back finds its own level. Yet the rise is one rise. The feather is one feather. The touch is one touch, passed along like bread in a quiet room. Salt keeps to your mouth. Clay keeps near it. Resin holds a narrow lane in your nose. The oar kiss travels on, wood to wood, calm and even, and the hull's hush catches the last of it and carries it under the planks where it can keep the hours safe. The long pattern of lift and rest, touch and part, pulls time into an easy coil. You take it up with your hands the way you take a rope, mindful and without strain. The call comes through the boat, a change in air more than a sound, and you answer with the row. Blades rise in time. Two kiss, then ease away. Fibers breathe resin. Water folds around the feathered faces and does not complain. You keep the quiet law of distance and closeness, and the morning keeps you in return. You let the next lift be your favorite, then let it pass. The oars rise and show their pale undersides to the day. The tips meet and move apart as if they had agreed to greet and let go. The oar kiss touches your ear and walks away along the benches. The smell of wood and salt holds steady. The touch of grain and leather stays friendly. The taste of clay and sea remains kind. You fold yourself back into the long pull, and the hush under the hull receives you, while the gentle oar kiss goes on down the line, soft and faithful, a quiet thread in the fabric of the water and the wood. The gentle oar kiss fades along the benches, and you hold the next pull as the morning opens a little more. A thin taste of ash reaches your tongue, light as dust from a cool hearth. From shore, pale strands of resin fog drift out over the water and hang like thin cloth. Your shoulders cool where the shirt is damp, then warm again as the sun lifts a finger higher. Wood stays steady in your hands. Grain is smooth and sure. The sea shows pale creases like folded linen, soft and regular. Far off, a horn hums once, low and round, and the sound carries like a jar rolled under a table. Your distant horn hum for the hour. You keep the oar close to the surface and let the blade ride easy. The pull is long but not hard. It settles your back and finds its right weight. Salt sits mild at the corner of your mouth. The fog threads breathe pine and a little honeyed pitch. The scent gathers in your nose and slips away. Floorboards are cool under your toes and keep you honest. A neighbor's cloak rubs wood and then lies still. The horn hum lingers in your ear, as if the sound had stitched a small seam in the air and asked you to follow it without hurry. You reach for the skin and wet your lips, clay and leather calming the ash taste to something kind. You hang the skin back and tie the thong loose so it will not wander. Your palms carry a faint resin, sweet and sharp. The shaft answers with warmth where your hands have polished it. A gull rides the light and gives one dry wing sound, then chooses silence. The sea lifts in slow creases and lays itself flat again, gentle as cloth being smoothed. Somewhere aft, a rope moves over a ring with a soft slide, then rests. The horn offers no second call. Its earlier hum keeps a place without speaking. You lean and carry, and the body takes the day in small, even pieces. The bench edge presses a dull line above your knee. You ease and settle, and it grows kind. The air holds pine smoke and clean salt, the two braided and thin. Pitch warms more as the sun climbs. It marks your fingers with a tack that is not trouble. The hull's hush runs under everything, a low blanket of sound. A rat beneath some shore plank chooses quiet work and is forgotten. The far horn returns once, a round thread on the edge of hearing, and the water seems to listen with you. You wipe the blade face with the hem of your cloak, cool damp passing over your knuckles. Cloth smells of soap and a little smoke from old fires. You fold the hem back and smooth it flat so the seam will not argue later. A neighbor clears a throat and grows still. Another adjusts a lash on a sandal. Leather gives a soft rasp and rests. Resin fog drifts in thin bands, and the sun turns them pale as milk. The sea keeps its creases, never sharp, never loud. The horn hum does not press. It sits at a long distance like a mark on a calm map. You brush ash into the leather wrap on the oar so the turn will stay quiet. The ash smells like yesterday's meal cooling to memory. The thole cord is damp and loyal under your thumb. Your shoulders cool when a light wind runs across the open, then warm again when the wind moves on. Salt dries along your lip and leaves a line you do not mind. The hull glides, and the shadow of your blade slips over the pale water, soft as cloth laid down and lifted again. No horn now, only its remembered roundness in the back of your mind. You glance toward the shore and read it by scent and shape. Low stone is darker where the fog holds. Pines farther back send their clean breath out along the channel. The resin taste rides the air and touches your tongue like a light glaze. You lean, pull, and return to the feather without splash. The floorboards tell you where your feet belong. Grain lifts a little and then yields. A boat rope across the way answers the tide. A single long sigh, then silence. The horn hum arrives again, small and patient, as if it had learned to move through water by scent alone. You rub grit between your fingers and feel the sand cut oil into neat order. Grain whispers once and then is quiet. Your hands settle around the shaft with a hold that is firm and not fierce. The sea gathers in low creases. Sunlight finds them, then loses them, like threads in a simple cloth. You taste faint ash again, and a touch of iron from the pin, honest flavors of work. A goat far inland gives one sound and returns to grass. The horn keeps its distance. Its tone hums through the ribs of the boat and fades, leaving only water and wood. You take the cup from beside your knee and turn it once in your hands. Clay is cool. It smells like dust after rain. You set it back so it will not slide and brush a few crumbs into the sand bowl, small tidiness that makes the mind sit down. The ore lies warm. The pitch scent frames the hour like a frame around a simple picture. The sun climbs and lays a thin gold on the plank, and your shoulders wake to it, cool, then warm. The change is gentle as a hand laid on a blanket. The sea moves like folded cloth being opened on a quiet table. The horn's memory holds the edge of your hearing, a ring shaped like patience. You listen for the others without turning your head. Cloth rubs wood. A strap slides. A heel sets and stays. The body beside you breathes steadily through the work, a sound so mild it belongs more to the boat than to any one person. Resin fog thins and lifts, pine fades to salt. Your tongue keeps a clean ash note that is not ash now, only a suggestion of it. The sea brightens by a shade. The creases keep their soft law. At the margin of all sound, a horn hums once more, low and even, and the call settles like a smooth stone dropped into deep water. You hold to plain tasks. Keep the blade true. Keep the catch low. Keep the feather flat. Your back carries the pull and gives it home. Your knees press, then ease, and the bench edge writes a gentle truth into skin. The floorboards are cool where shade holds and warm where sun reaches, both fine to live with. A gull glides and skims the surface, drawing a quick line that closes itself. Resin and salt and a small smoke taste share the morning without quarrel. The horn hum lingers and thins, then lets the hush under the hull be the larger sound. You smooth the cloak under your thigh and rub warmth into the place where seam would otherwise speak. Linen smells of soap and old sun. It learns your shape and stays. The rope coil near your foot shines a little where damp meets light. Hemp breath, faint and green, lifts and fades. You hold the oar and feel how the shaft's grain has become a part of your palms, as if wood and hand learned each other by name without names being used. The creases on the sea lie pale, then paler, and the water accepts your blade like a friendly bowl. The horn keeps its quiet position at the far edge of morning and lets the day deepen. You taste ash once more, then clay, then salt. The order shifts with each slow reach and return, a small dance the mouth knows. Pitch holds to your fingers and leaves a gloss you have learned not to wipe away. It helps more than it hinders. Pine breath comes only in traces now, like a thought remembered, and then set down. Your shoulders cool, then warm again, and the rhythm soothes every place that had been stiff in the night. The sea's pale creases loosen the way folded cloth loosens when hands smooth it for use. At last, the horn gives a final distant hum, round and calm, and the sound rests in the water until it is only a wider silence under the steady glide of the hull. The last round hum from far water loosens and is gone, and you let the pull grow easy as the boat changes its mind toward land. You ease the pull and feel the hull relax under you, long wood letting go of its tight line. Salt dries on your skin and leaves a faint crust at the edges. Your tongue finds a hint of copper that came with spray and effort. The shoreline smells of pine and baked stone, warm now under a clean sun. The oar lies friendly in your hands, smooth and known. The keel brushes soft swells and makes a slow keel whisper along the bottom. A low sound that sets the pace for coming home. You hold the shaft with a gentler grip and watch the feather sit flatter on the water. The blade enters without hurry and leaves without mark. Your shoulders cool where cloth is damp, then warm again as light climbs the ribs and paints the deck. Pitch at the handle gives a mild, sweet scent. Tar by the pin keeps a darker note that feels safe. A gull draws a slow line across the sky and forgets you. The keel whisper goes on under everything, soft as wind passing under a door that stays half open. You press your heels to the brace with less demand. Knees keep their small rhythm. Press and ease, as if they had decided to be kind. The bench edge leaves a smooth line in skin that does not complain. You take a little water from the skin. Leather and clay soften the copper taste and teach the salt to sit quiet. Rope coiled by your foot stirs once and then settles, the hemp smell faint and green. Under the planks, the keel whisper folds each small swell and lays it down like cloth. You check the thong at your wrist and smooth the knot so it lies flat. A tiny task that feels like good housekeeping. The floorboards are cool where shade still holds. They grow warm in thin bars where sun finds them. Pine from shore drifts out over the channel with a clean sweetness, and baked stone gives a dry smell that speaks of long sun. A goat on land knocks a post and then chooses silence. A neighbor clears a throat and lets it end there. The keel whisper under you keeps its steady law, slow and sure. You set the blade a finger's width closer to the skin of the water and let the boat do more of the work. The hull glides as if it remembered this way of moving from older days. Your palms rub a faint tack of pitch that never harms you. The sand bowl near your knee holds a little grit and 2 crumbs. You brush them in with care so mice will not learn bad habits. The lamp, cold now, rests under its hood like a tool that knows its hour. The keel whisper stays modest, a low voice that tells you the swells are small and friendly. You draw a longer line, not with force, only with reach. The oar leather turns on the cord without noise. Ash in the wrap has kept it smooth. Salt at the corner of your mouth dries and leaves a line your tongue reads without fuss. The air tastes wide and open. More salt now, less smoke. Pine lives at the edge of it all like a clean border. A rope on a distant bow answers the tide. One slow slide and rest. The keel whisper brushes the soft rise under the hull and gives back a hush you can almost feel through your toes. You lift the cup and wet your lips again. Clay holds a coolness even in growing sun. It smells like dust after rain. You set it down where it will not wander and tie the skin's thong so the knot will not clap. The oar lies warm. The grain marks your hands the way familiar tools do. You grin a little at nothing in particular, perhaps at how wood and hand have made peace. Your tongue still finds a hint of copper, not sharp now, just there. The keel whisper continues, low and even, the boat's way of saying the water is kind. You smooth the cloak under your thigh so the seam will not ask for more than its due. Linen smells of soap and old sun. It takes your shape and holds it. The floorboard seam under your heel feels straight and honest. It keeps you grounded while the hull eases. A rat under some shore plank tries, then quits. A fisherman on a far mole drags a pot. The scrape carries and fades. You lean and carry and lean again, and the pull is light enough to feel like a favor. The keel whisper folds and folds again beneath you. The slow iron of the keel turning every small rise into a soft story. You run a finger along the thole cord and find it damp and loyal. The cord gives just enough, then holds. The oar leather, dark with old oil, answers with a gentle turn. You wipe the blade face with the hem of your cloak. The cool water kisses your knuckles and leaves a clean trace. The shore grows more detailed without needing names. Pale sand, dark root, low wall, white line of baked stone that shines a little. Pine scent gets fuller, and the deck warms under bare toes. The keel whisper keeps pace, the same note, the same patience. You ease the pull further and watch the bow make a quieter line. The sea shows pale creases like cloth spread and smoothed. They rise and fall under sunlight that does not shout. Your shoulders, long warm now, release their last tight places. Your mouth holds salt and that small copper edge. You drink once more and let clay teach both to behave. A boat rope far behind answers a ring with a soft, tired sound, and then rests. The keel whisper travels the length of the hull and back, and it feels like a hand smoothing hair that already lies flat. You untie and retie the strap on your sandal so the leather will not rub later. The strap smells warm and animal soft. It settles with a mild creak and is done. You brush the last crumbs from the bread cloth into the sand bowl and fold the cloth small. The stain of olive a faint map no one needs to read. The knife in its sheath stays quiet, a good tool at peace. The sun lifts a little more and forgives the night's damp. Pine and baked stone share the same still air. Below, the keel whisper touches a longer swell and returns a deeper hush that fades slow and pleasant. You look along the bench line and see the same easy signs in others. A loosened wrap, a strap smoothed, a hand rubbed clean on cloth. No one needs to talk. The drummer under the forward deck rests the palm and lets the boat hold the time. Your oar glides and rests, as if the water had learned your name and promised not to forget. The shoreline's breath is warm and simple. A mule somewhere on land gives a low answer to nothing in particular. The keel whisper passes under you again, gentle as linen drawn across wood. You clear a smear of tar from your finger with a pinch of sand. Grain scratches once, then gives you clean skin. You tie the wrist thong flatter so the knot will not bite on shore work. The oar's pitch leaves a soft shine on your palm. You let it be. You taste copper one last time, then more salt, then clay. The keel meets a little chop and smooths it so quickly the boat hardly notices. The keel whisper swells, then thins, then returns to its small, regular hush, like a lullaby meant for wood. You scrape a thin weed thread from the blade heel and set it into the sand bowl. The weed smells green and plain. It belongs here. You stow the rag under the thwart and fold your cloak's corner again. Rope near your foot gives one small stretch, then lies calm. The hull glides along the pale creases, and you feel the day tilt toward ordinary things that wait on land. A jar to fill, a line to coil, a bowl to wash, a small talk with a neighbor about weather and bread. The keel whisper makes a last gentle pass under the planks, even as the swells grow softer toward shore. You lean and carry the oar once more, not to prove anything, only to finish well. The blade enters and leaves like a bowl set down and lifted again from a table you know. Pine breath rides the air with baked stone and salt. It sits on the tongue as a quiet mix. Your shoulders cool, then warm, and the body seems grateful for both. The boat answers each motion in a kind way, and beneath it all, the keel brushes the soft swells and sends up that slow keel whisper, a steady low music that holds while you ease the pull, holds as the shoreline draws closer, holds as the day opens, and then settles into the wood like a sound that will keep echoing long after you close your eyes. The slow keel whisper thins as the sand rises under the bow, and you let the oar rest across your thighs. The water clears to a pale sheet, thin as glass laid over stone. You angle the blade in, lift, and hold. The hull finds ground. You slide the boat up the sand and hear gravel roll like a jar of seeds turned gentle in two hands. Salt sits clean on your tongue. Pine and baked stone warm the air. You wait a little, calves cooled by the wash, and set your shoulder to the beam. Wood presses through cloth, firm and known. The boat answers with a low groan that is not trouble, only age. Sand grinds under the keel, grain on grain, each push a steady inch. A neighbor puts a palm to the gunwale and shares the weight without words. When the nose clears the small shore lip, the hull settles, and the last trickle runs off in narrow threads that shine and go. You ease the rope coil to the beach and shake sand from the loop. Hemp smells green and a little sour where it stayed wet. Your fingers find the mooring peg, smooth where hands have polished it, rough where sun has crusted it. You set the line round the wood and pull with care. The peg takes the strain with a mild peg thud, soft and exact, the sound of a tool doing its duty. It sits, pleased, and gives a tiny creek bed groan that fades into the day. You rinse your hands in the clear edge where waves turn. Water wears a chill that wakes the skin and makes pitch loosen and float in brown ribbons. Salt leaves the copper taste kinder. Clay from your cup is only a memory now. You lift your hands and let the air do the drying. Sun lays a thin heat across the knuckles. A gull steps sideways on the wet mark your heel left, considers it, and walks on. You bring the oars ashore one at a time and set them on a flat stone, blades in shade. Wood smells stronger on land. Resin and old smoke rise from the grain. You pour a little oil into your palm from a small clay jar, the scent clean and nut bitter. You rub the oil into the oar leather, slow circles that sink in and ease the fibers. The turn will be quiet again tonight. A second pass with the cloth leaves a soft shine and a darker, even tone you can trust. You check the thole cords and the pin. Tar under your nail lifts in a thin curl and makes your fingers smell like rope and dark rooms. You brush the pin with the oily cloth until the metal warms. Sand clings, then yields. A mule on the road shakes a pack and gives a dull sound. A child far off laughs once and forgets it. The line hums a little where the tide tugs, and the peg answers with a mild peg thud as the loop settles deeper into its notch. You fold your cloak on a dry patch of stone, careful and square. Dry side out, always, so it will welcome your shoulders later. Linen is rough at first, then soft as it learns your hand again. Soap and a faint olive trace lift from the weave, touched by sun and salt. You smooth the edge where a seam would rub your neck. Shade from the overturned hull draws a cool border around your small camp. You sit with your back to the warm plank and open a cloth that holds bread and 2 halves of fig. The crust is dry and clean. It breaks with a plain sound that pleases the ear. Crumbs fall like coarse sand into your palm. You taste bread first, dust and sun, and a little smoke. Then fig, sweet and thick, with a seed crack here and there to keep it honest. Breadcrumb and fig finish the taste of morning and tell the mouth that work can slow. You tip a little water from the skin into your cup. Clay smells like rain remembered. The rim is cool on your lip. Leather breathes a low animal note under it. You sip and let the salt stand back. A neighbor on the far boat coughs and goes quiet. Out by the mole, a rope answers a ring and drags once. Then the air turns still again. You brush crumbs into the sand bowl and shake the cloth clean. Grain rustles and lies flat. You wipe the blade faces with the same cloth, each stroke slow, each edge set right. The sun warms the wood enough to lift a new line of resin along the grain. A goat noses a basket near a wall and loses interest. The sea keeps a small voice at your feet, the wash so mild it is more motion than sound. You go to the stern and pour fresh water from a jar over your hands again to chase pitch from the lines of the skin. Cool slips under your nails, runs to your wrist, and drops back in bright beads. The smell rises clean, a simple cure for long hours of salt. You roll the wrists and feel the oar's weight leaving the joints one quiet measure at a time. A breeze crosses the baked stone and brings pine with it, sweet and dry. The peg at the bow receives another small tug from the tide and gives a mild peg thud, as if to say it is still there, still right. You take the coil and lay it in a neat ring beside the peg, wide and low, so it will not tangle. The rope fibers feel strong and a little warm now that sun has reached them. You tie a short stopper where the tail was frayed and save it from future trouble. The knot takes shape the way a memory takes shape when told slowly. Sand sticks to your wet heel, then brushes off. The line lies flat, the loop clean, the coil true. You check the bilge and pour out what is left. Water strikes sand and disappears. A wet circle darkens and then lightens as wind finds it. A bit of weed clings to the heel of a plank. You ease it free and carry it to the tide line. It floats, then sinks, then drifts back as if the sea had flicked it away for play. You scrape a small patch of scuff from the hull with the back of your knife, careful as though you were shaving. Wood shows lighter under the scar, then takes the oil with a soft drink. You sit again, and the plank is warm through cloth. Shadows of rigging from the boat next along the beach draw a faint web on your knee. The smell of stone bakes heavier now, clean and dry, with a powder that lifts when you touch it. Your tongue holds only fig, then water, then plain air. A fly makes a lazy circle and forgets you when your hand moves. The mooring peg stands like a short, patient post. A gull lands near it, looks with one eye and decides the peg is not food. You oil the oar leather one last time, then fold the rag and press it into a small jar to keep it ready. Your palm shows a shine. You rub it over your forearm and make the skin smooth. The feel is simple and good. You slide the oars a little farther under the hull's shade, blades wrapped in cloth to keep the sun off the binding. A man on the road carries a basket and hums so low you cannot tell the tune. The peg listens and says nothing. You rise and walk the line from peg to bow, checking each turn. Hemp roughens and then lies friendly against your fingers. Sand shifts under your heel without complaint. The loop sits where it should. The knot sits where it must. You test it with a steady pull. The peg gives that same mild peg thud, an answer you can trust, the sound losing itself in wood and then in sand. You rinse your face at the jar and let the water run into your hair and neck. Not fast, not slow. Salt loosens, copper fades, and the world smells like pine and stone alone. You dab dry with the cloaks inside, then fold the cloth back to keep the clean side true. Your shoulders settle, and your hands feel light. The long weight of the oar gone quiet for now. Far off, a cartwheel clicks once on a flat rock and rolls on. The sea stays small and forgiving at the edge of everything. You take a last look at the tools lined in order. Rope coiled, bowl of sand, cup turned mouth down, knife sleeping, jar corked, rag oiled and folded, cloak dry side out. None ask for more. You place your palm on the prow and feel the grain, warm and a little rough where the day has touched it. The boat smells of wood and work and a faint sweet of oil. Your mouth carries the final taste of breadcrumb and fig, calm and kind. The peg holds the line in its notch, and when the tide tests it again, the mild peg thud returns, small and sure, a tucked heartbeat of the shore, fading into the long hush of sun on sand and wood on water.